Usually the next morning we would put the wiener into the opening there of the donut, and we'd heat it up.
The Wienermobile caused a hot mess on I-294 near Roosevelt Road yesterday afternoon. Just take a look at this video here. It flipped on its side in the middle of the interstate. Technically, it's a smaller version of the Wienermobile, which travels on the base of a Mini Cooper. State police say the driver lost control and overcorrected before crashing into another car. Luckily, though, no one was hurt. That's good.
That is good news. That is good news. It's just a sight to see.
It sure is.
I don't do wieners.
The Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad, presented by Lazy Boy. What is your strategy for comfort?
We fully intend on Brandon being a Niner moving forward. We're always open to listen to things. But like I said, we expect Brandon to be an integral part of our team like he has been, and excited about that.
These are professional athletes, so I think, this extra motivation or quotes or, bulletin board material, I'm not necessarily buying into that all the time. I think these guys have gotten where they've gotten in their careers as athletes because they're competitive, they're self-motivated, they're driven.
Grateful that we came to the solution that I think we all wanted, and now we can focus on this team and him being able to lead the way, and a lot of exciting things to potentially be in store.
We communicate very well.
The 2-0 pitch. Swinging a drive out towards the right field corner, but it is foul. Or is it foul? Marte is rounding the bases. He thinks it grazed off the foul pole, but Brian O'Nora, the first base umpire, signaled a foul ball. Diamondbacks, Marte's just rounding the bases. They're going to send this to a review, but I think that hit the right field foul pole, and that baby should be gone.
It took a huge carom to the right. That's not where the ball should have landed.
And now they signal home run.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad starts now.
All right, Rip City Drive. Godfather, I had so many songs going through my head that I wanted to play to open the show, so I just decided to put together a little montage.
Yeah, I thought that was very nice.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, great way to start off a show.
And Shacker, thanks for the update on the Wienermobile that crashed uncontrollably. And by the way, what is a Mini Cooper doing carrying the wiener?
I don't know, but that's the most ridiculous thing. Can you imagine somebody putting that giant wiener on a Mini Cooper?
It's amazing.
You said on the show you were going to apply to be that driver.
That's true. I did want to be that. Yeah, they were going to pay people to drive it around the country for a year.
I remember seeing that, yeah.
Well, we all know I'm going to get fired from this business pretty soon. So when that happens, I'll be first in line for the Wienermobile.
Keep all your options open. That's my motto.
Well, I've talked about it before. They used to have in Conifer, Colorado, where I used to live, they had a freaking hot dog stand in town that was shaped like the Oscar Mayer wiener. It was like this big hot dog that you walked into to get your dogs. And I got to admit, that was a pretty good spot to hit when you were younger because they would make the dog any way you wanted. It was delicious, actually. So we'd hit it after school all the time. It was great.
In those days, probably cost a quarter, too.
Yeah, it was so cheap, right? Yeah. And one of our buddies at school, I think his name was Wayne. He was the skater that had the half pipe at his house, right?
Oh,
like his dad and the family, they constructed a half pipe, and they had a quarter pipe ramp. So that's where people would hit after school to go skating. So we'd swing down to the Wiener, grab a dog, and then head over to go hit the skate park. And it was like a skate park in his own backyard. It was pretty remarkable.
What more does the kid need after school, right?
That's right.
Takes care of it.
Skateboard, dog, and half pipe, and you're set, man. So that's pretty much the deal. Oh, by the way, just so you know, and we'll get to more of this in detail at 4 o'clock, I'm now going to tune in to watch the Mariners for the wrong reasons because I can't miss how they're going to melt down on every single night.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
It's turned into the greatest comedy show on television right now.
It's the best. And I knew yesterday when we talked about Scott Service, he got upset and started calling out his guys. I just knew that it was going to go even worse that night, and it did.
Yeah. Well, they were playing basically half the Tacoma Rainiers were on the field for him last night.
Unbelievable. And they're playing one of the worst teams in baseball.
Yeah.
And they've struggled against the Angels of late now. I mean, this team is in a complete free fall, just an absolute free fall.
Yeah, it's a mess.
Can you do something, DePoto? Anything? Something. Throw your team a life raft for crying out loud. It is embarrassing. You have to have guys that can actually hit the baseball. And as great as their starting pitching is, you can't. There's going to be nights where they just don't have their stuff, and you got to get runs.
Yeah.
I mean, they're dead. DEAD, dead, Godfather.
Yeah, well, self-inflicted in many cases. Last night there were some unearned runs that contributed to that loss. But still, you can't win very many games when you score one run every night. You know, that just isn't going to get it done.
Yeah, not to mention it's just a boring watch when your offense stinks to high heaven. It's like, I don't need this in my life.
Yeah.
Good gracious. Thank God Major League Baseball sped up the games because that way you don't have to suffer through 3+ hours of Mariner baseball where they don't score any runs.
I think they had 3 hits last night, though. Quite a production for them. Way to go.
All right, a lot of things to get to today. Chris Jansen tickets to give away at 5. We'll do that. At 5:20, Ryan Edwards from KOA in Denver is going to join us for a little Bo Nix update now that camps are open. You and I were talking about this 3-ring circus or 3-quarterback competition they've got going with Bo Nix, their draft pick, out of Oregon, of course. They've got Zach Wilson, who is coming in from the Jets off the scrap heave as a potential backup. And then they got the veteran Jared Stidham. You and I were talking about this. I heard Mark Schlereth, former Bronco great, he was discussing this. And he was on the team when Elway was there. And then Elway retired at the end of the 98 season. And to start 99, they had Bubby Brister, who was a longtime vet, country guy from Mississippi. All the players loved him. And he had helped the team win multiple games the year before when they won the Super Bowl when Elway was out with rib injuries and whatever.
Yeah.
Well, he was the better quarterback, and the players knew it. But the coach, Mike Shanahan, wanted Brian Griese to get the job. So through camp, it looked like Griese was going to be the guy. But final preseason game, Shanahan pulled the plug, started Griese in the final preseason game and named him the starter. And, you know, Schlereth said that the players on the team were upset because, 1, they all respected Bubby. 2, they knew he was the better quarterback. 3, they all believed that he gave them the better chance to win. And then Griese went out there and, like most young quarterbacks with no experience, struggled. So he said it was very frustrating. But he also said that the difference now, and I hadn't even thought about this, but in the NFL, we have fewer preseason games, dramatically fewer, and you don't have as much time in camp to get ready for the season. So the idea of having a 3-quarterback competition, it's not really realistic, meaning you're going to have to make your decision pretty quick with only a couple of preseason games, meaning you might rotate the starter reps through the first 4 to 5 days of camp, maybe into week number 2. But soon after that, you're going to start to see some definition in the rotation based on what Sean Payton wants. And he said that, and this is the key, he was talking about, Wilson's not a part of the discussion, but between Stidham and Nix, he said Stidham was ahead of him in OTAs, as you would expect, because he's got experience, Godfather.
Yeah.
And he said that if they go through camp and there's a negligible difference between the two guys, if Peyton wants to start Nix, he said the players will rally behind that because they all know that he has the higher ceiling and hopefully will be the guy to lead them to where they want to go.
Yeah.
So as long as he's not Paxton Lynch or a complete disaster, the players are going to be okay, even if Stidham is slightly ahead because he's got experience, because they know that Nix eventually will be the guy with the higher ceiling to lead them to where they want to go. So just some food for thought as we get ready for that discussion with Ryan Edwards coming up at 5:20.
Yeah, I think it's really a question of how he acts as a rookie, too.
Yeah.
He seems, from all reports we hear, he fits in. He knows how to be that rookie guy who's trying to lead, but at the same time respects the other vets on the team, not causing any waves, not being an arrogant jerk.
Yeah.
But just finding his own place and his own role, that helps a lot. Because if you come in like some cocky, mouthy, hotshot college QB, those vets are going to hate you.
There's no question. By the way, I looked at some pictures and did a little deep dive on his new crib that he's got, he and his wife.
Oh, did you?
He is living my best life. He is in Castle Rock, Colorado, which is just south of Denver. And I go through Castle Rock all the time if you're cruising from Denver down to Colorado Springs on Highway 25.
Yeah.
Castle Rock's nice because they got a sweet outlet mall there where you can stop off and get your Nike goodies and some of your Bronco gear. Me and my buddy Josh will hit that outlet when we head to the Pittsburgh game this year. But it's beautiful there. They got great golf. It's close to Colorado Springs. It's close to Denver. It's spectacular. And so
the house is pretty nice too, though, right?
Oh, yeah. Being a starting quarterback in the NFL is not a bad life.
Mm.
It's not a bad life. And if you plan on having kids, if they plan on having children, multiple kids, they got plenty of room now to have rooms for all of them. It's beautiful, man. Props to him. Bo Nix is a good dude. Like, I don't know what type of quarterback he's going to be, Godfather, but he's one of those guys that I want good things to happen to because he's a great athlete, but more importantly, he's got character.
Chad, we root for nice guys. By and large, we do. We try to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I root for a-holes sometimes if they're really good at their job, right?
Especially if they play for your team.
Yeah, exactly. Bill Romanowski on the field was a crazy guy, but I rooted for him because I knew he could help them win. But I like Bo Nix. He's a difference maker in the community. I like his makeup. I like the way he's battled throughout his college career. So I'm hoping, really hoping that he turns out to be the franchise quarterback. But we'll deal with that with Ryan Edwards and our Bo Nix update coming up at 5:20. Also tomorrow morning, I think right now, Justin Myers is on a plane or boarding a plane, getting ready to head out to Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be live tomorrow morning at Lucas Oil Stadium for BIG10 Media Day. So he'll be there for Oregon, Washington, Maryland, Michigan, and a bunch of other schools. So the players and coaches are going to roll through. So make sure you tune in tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., back-to-back days of BIG10 Media coverage for Justin Myers, who's going to be on site, which is going to be pretty sweet.
And, Chad, I know if you're sending him all the way back there, you plan to work his tail off, right?
Yeah, he's going to get the radio treatment, which means get in late, get up early, and work your ass off for like 12 straight hours and then board a plane and get your butt back to Portland. That's how that's going to go down.
Yeah.
It's brutal, but I know he's going to be the man for the job. So make sure you tune in tomorrow morning. BIG10 Media Days with Justin Myers presented by Dick Hanna Dealerships. Dick Hanna, believe in nice. And I'm anxious to see Dan Lanning and how he responds. And again, I'll say this again, and we'll deal with this a little bit later in the show too. But I've been saying this throughout the entire offseason, ever since they got him. But I don't think Duck fans quite understand yet how fortunate they are to land Dylan Gabriel. To go from Bo Nix, great, to Dylan Gabriel, great, in back-to-back years is phenomenal. Usually when you lose a quarterback of the caliber of Bo Nix, there's some type of drop-off the next year, but that's not going to happen this year because Dylan Gabriel is as experienced and has the same type of skill set, smart, great teammate, can make all the throws, great in the run game. I just can't believe that they scored a guy like that. But that with the portal and the way things go now, for the big teams with resources, you can restock in a hurry at vital positions, and quarterback being one of them. So Dylan Gabriel, I'm a big fan of his. I respect him a great deal, and I can't wait to watch him ball. He's going to be awesome. Big time. And that game against Ohio State's going to be off the chain.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm really interested just to see how Lanning handles this. I hope he walks in there with a little swagger. It's like, I'm really happy to be in this great conference, but we're not here to lose games to you guys.
He should walk in with a green and yellow Speedo on and be like, yeah, we're here to rock, man. We're going to dominate.
That, but
I want to see Justin next to that giant duck.
Yeah.
Did you see all the pictures of the duck showing up everywhere around the world?
Yes,
There's some
I did.
Good stuff out there. I like it. All right, we'll keep things rolling. When we come back, how about Chauncey Billups?
Woo.
If you haven't heard this from Coach Billups, he unloaded, did not name the player, but unloaded on a player for being a dum-dum, essentially. Wouldn't you say that was dum-dum behavior, Godfather?
Totally. Yeah. Unacceptable behavior. And I think Chauncey let him know.
Yeah. He did a good job. We'll hear that next. You got the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. Michael Shacker is back after 2 days off.
Yes.
Very happy to have him. And Chris Jansen tickets, we'll give those away at 5.
Yeah!
Your Portland Trailblazers invite you to Pup City, presented by Tavo. It's a 1.4K walk around Motor Center for Rip City fans and their dogs to get together in the offseason. Check out both dog and human-friendly vendors like Stumptown Coffee, Portland Pet Food, Blue Star Donuts, and much more. The only cat allowed in the walk is the Trailblazers mascot, Blaze. Each ticket purchase receives entry, Pup City swag, a ticket to an early season Trailblazers game, and a donation to our nonprofit partner, One Tail at a Time. Get complete details now at ripcityradio.com. All right, Godfather, let's take a listen to Chauncey Billups. This is pretty remarkable when you consider, players in the NBA. I can't imagine being a coach and just trying to keep all the guys on the same page to make sure they're focused in on the task that needs to be handled. It's got to be a tough job.
Hey, sometimes it must feel like being a preschool teacher or something. Attention spans are very short.
It's unbelievable to me. It's like, what? I don't know. I guess you get different players from different backgrounds, and this is pretty unbelievable. But on a podcast, he was talking about a specific situation that went down at halftime of a game. And let's take a listen to this. And I believe this is from, what is this from? Like a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I don't know which season it was.
Well, let's take a listen to this.
We in New Orleans. We're down like 18 at the half. I had a kid, he had a nasty dunk. We coming out for the third quarter. This motherfucker done posted his dunk on his joint.
Stop it.
At halftime.
Yo, stop.
Yo, at halftime,
Hey,
bro, we down 18.
You got to optimize those numbers.
What you do, though? Man, you know I grinded his up, man. I get wind of it. I said, hey, yo, bro, get the back there and take that down off your joint, man. What the is wrong with you, man? Yeah. My bad, coach. He run to the back. We getting bombed, bro. We down 18. He posted joint at halftime. I said, man, what is going on?
Wow.
Welcome to this world.
Yeah, welcome to the me generation. Welcome to the NBA.
Social media.
It's like, come on, man.
More important than a lot of other stuff to these guys.
Yeah, it is. Social media is critical to them.
Yeah.
But this is, like, for all of us, you got to understand time and place. Time and place. The time to post a highlight video on social media is not halftime of an NBA game when you're down 18.
Yeah.
Even if you're up 18 and you had a sweet dunk, you shouldn't be posting your highlights. I mean, that basically says all the wrong things. One, I don't care that we're down 18 getting our face kicked in. Two, I care more about my individual highlights than I do the team. Three, I don't really care what the coach or the team's thinking right now because I'm too busy. I got to get my my likes on social media.
Yeah. That's sort of like, yeah, I know we're behind, but look what I did.
Yeah, look at me. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's really bad. Of course, the hunt is on to try to figure out which player that might have been.
And there's been multiple people who have been doing digging on who the player might be. So who are the candidates in this situation?
Well, Little was a candidate.
Yes, but he quickly refuted that on social media himself.
He did. Ellaby was a candidate, and Brown was a candidate.
Cam Reddish?
Cam Reddish was a candidate. I would have a hard time believing it wasn't Brown because dunks seemed so important to him, and he did have several nasty dunks.
He did.
Some of the, I mean, it's like, okay, Ellaby, I don't think he's that kind of guy, but also he didn't have a lot of dunks that you'd want to post at halftime.
Well, I just think his character and the way he operated, I highly doubt that CJ Ellaby would be one to run to social media at halftime of the game where they're getting hammered and think I'm going to post or tweet or have everyone look at me. I doubt he would do that.
Right.
And we know that Nasir Little refuted the idea that he would do something like that. So you basically have two guys. It's either Greg Brown or Cam Reddish.
Yeah.
Both guys, I believe, could do something like that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But Greg Brown, what did he do in the NBA aside from a couple of dunks?
Nothing.
What did he do for the Trailblazers aside from a couple of dunks?
Nothing. He amused a lot of fans who were in love with dunks. They fell in love with him.
Yes.
Of course, because he could dunk, they thought he was a better player than he actually was, which happens with a lot of very naive NBA fans. They equate being able to dunk with being a good player, and it has nothing to do with being a good player.
What exactly happens at halftime at an NBA game? I've never been in a locker room at halftime. Is there actual coaching that's going on? Do coaches talk to players or talk about second half ideas or philosophy? Or is it a situation where the players go in, they use the bathroom, they catch a snack, they do whatever they got to do because it's such a short period of time, and then you're back out on the floor, and then the coaches huddle together to talk about how they want to handle the second half?
Yeah, I have. Of course, I haven't been in one of those at halftime. We're not allowed, but I hear things and I see things on video. Every once in a while, somebody will post a halftime video. And mostly you see players taking care of their bathroom needs, hydrating a little bit, chewing on an energy bar, maybe talking to each other a little bit about what went on in the first half. But the coaches meet in the coaches' room, in the head coach's room usually, and talk about what changes they might make, adjustments they might make for the second half. So they'll come out right at the end of the halftime portion and give them some last-minute instructions, make a change in the lineup if they want to, maybe draw something up on the whiteboard or show a clip on how they're going to handle a certain play. Maybe change the matchups a little bit. Hey, you try guarding this guy in the second half. They don't do a lot because they don't feel you can change a lot at halftime. They've already gone through their game plan and talked about things. The only thing you might do is if some guy you didn't game plan for, and we've seen this happen plenty of times, some guy off the bench that they didn't even plan on comes out and scores 17 points in the first half. It's like, hey, guys, this is how we're going to play him. We can't just let him go.
The weird part about this, too, is like if you're at the end of the bench and you're trying to make a name for yourself in the NBA and you want to get opportunities, you don't want to be pulling stunts like this.
Right. You want to do things that ingratiate yourself with your coach, not make him mad.
Yeah, especially a coach like Chauncey Billups, who you would think you would know, like, coach ain't going to be down with this.
Chauncey's an OG. You don't need to bring that stuff around him. He's too old school for that. He's not going to, he's not going to like that.
Yeah, an old-ass gangsta is not going to want you tweeting stuff at halftime.
Exactly. But the only thing you're thinking, well, he wouldn't see it. But, of course, somebody's going to tip him off because somebody's monitoring that.
I just love Chauncey being so real.
We in New Orleans. We're down like 18 at the half. I had a kid, he had a nasty dunk. We coming out for the third quarter. This motherfucker done posted his dunk on his joint.
Stop it.
At halftime.
Yo, stop.
At halftime, bro, we down 18.
You got to optimize those numbers.
What you do, though? Man, you know I grinded his up, man. I get wind of it. I said, hey, yo, bro, get the back there and take that down off your joint, man. What the is wrong with you, man? Yeah. My bad, coach. He run to the back. We getting boned, bro. We down 18. He posted joint at halftime. I said, man, what is going on?
Wow.
That's the kind of thing he has to deal with when you have a bunch of kids on your team. You're not very good anyway, and you don't really have veteran leadership to keep guys in line,
That's really what it's all about. Mm-hmm. You have to have a certain arrangement on your roster in the locker room so guys know, like, this is acceptable, this is not acceptable.
Yeah, there's always a pecking order. There's always that guy who's going to jump your case for something like that.
I grew up watching the NBA in a different time. If they had social media back in the day, I could imagine Larry Bird punching a teammate in the face for trying to post stuff at halftime, down 18.
Yeah. Or ahead by 18. He's still not going to like it.
No. What are you doing? The game's not even over, moron. Yeah. What are you thinking? Chauncey Billups, that's great. Old school coach, old school players, like, hey, come on, man, what are you doing? You can't be carrying on like this. We're down 18.
Idiot.
But that shows you the mindset of youngsters.
Uh-huh. This is what you get,
I got to be on social media, man.
Yeah. Well, my understanding is a lot of them check social media at halftime. I actually posted something on Twitter once and had a player react to it when I knew he had to have seen it at halftime because the second half hadn't even started, and there was a little bit of a reply on social media to what I had posted.
Do you care to share who that might be?
Nah, at this time, no.
Too soon?
Probably is.
Were you critical of the player?
Yes, that's what it was about. It was kind of like, bro. That was kind of it,
Yeah.
What are you doing? Calm down.
Was this a veteran player or a younger player?
No, it was
a veteran player.
Yes, it was.
Very interesting.
Yeah, sensitive player.
I think I have a guess of who it might be. I'll ask you during the break.
Please do.
That's pretty awesome, man. All right, so there's Chauncey Billups doing his thing. We have an announcement on the Trailblazers preseason schedule, Godfather.
Yeah.
4 games, one team that I cannot pronounce. They
Don't
open
even
up
try.
October 11th in L.A. against the Clippers. And then they're in Sacramento on October 13th against the Kings. Then they play 2 home games. Not sure who the first game's against. And then they finish up against Utah on October 18th.
The not sure game is against some German team, right? Isn't it? Aren't they a German team? I think they are.
Again, you're asking me, and
I thought it. Oh, it didn't say. And the game, the first game against the Clippers, that's the Seattle game. That's a game being played at Climate Pledge Arena.
Oh, good. We'll get the red-faced weirdo there,
Yeah.
yelling and screaming into the microphone,
leading the
talking
cheers.
about toilets,
Yeah.
and how he's the man.
Mhm.
It is a German team. Says
Yeah.
here, Portland will host the Woody Wuttens of the German basketball BBL at Moda Center on Wednesday, October 16th. If you can't pronounce it, don't even try, right? Is that how it
the
works?
best way to go.
I've been to Germany. I came back from Germany. I can't pronounce that team. But there you go. 4 preseason games for the Blazers to get out there on the floor and showcase what they could do. And then, of course, they'll be underway with the season.
I got a score update for you.
You do?
Yeah. First of all, I want to tell you the Mariners did get 6 hits today. They played a day game. And they scored a run. Unfortunately, they lost 2-1 again. I'm sorry, Mariner fans. I can't help but be amused by this. This is comedy. I mean, you can't go game after game after game not getting hits, not scoring runs. Got to do something about that.
They've just opened up the second half of the season, dropping 5 of 6 at home, 3 of those to the Angels.
Yeah.
That's incredible. It's not unbelievable because we're talking about the Seattle Mariners, but that's not a good way to kick off the second half.
And they've gotten lucky because Houston hasn't been able to win I think they're in Oakland, and they've had trouble winning there. So they could be buried already. I'll bet you they do nothing at the trade deadline. I would just bet you. Because they're going to say, we don't have a good enough team that 1 or 2 moves can help. And let's just keep building for the future. Don't they understand what they're doing to their fans?
Do you think they're going to do something?
I honestly am not convinced they are. They should. I mean, just to look good.
Why shouldn't they sell? Maybe this team doesn't have it. Do you think a bat would help? Would one bat help? If they got Cruz, would that help?
Sometimes if you put a run producer in the middle of your lineup, it invigorates everybody and you start something.
So one guy who comes in that's got the bat could help revive some of the other guys in the lineup, and all of a sudden your offense gets rolling.
Yeah, plus it's a sign that the front office cares. We're going to get you some help. We understand. And your starting pitchers will feel better that maybe now they can get an extra run or 2 a night because this isn't working. You can't go out and pitch as well as their starters do and just keep taking losses. Doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Well, I'm going to tune in to see how they continue to fall in just a catastrophic fashion. And keep in mind, just a few weeks ago, they're up 10 games in the division, Godfather, and now they're in trouble. Real trouble.
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't take a lot of offense, like we talked about with that pitching staff. They don't need to put up 10 runs a night.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine being a starting pitcher there when you take the mound. You're like, I got to be perfect tonight.
Yeah, and their bullpen has been costly, too. They have, anymore, if you get 7 good innings from your starter, that's it. They pull them out, and then some guy comes in from the bullpen and allows a couple runs, and you lose.
What we need now are Mariner players posting highlight videos. Well, there wouldn't be much
During the
highlight
game.
videos. Yeah. Guy gets a hit, 1 of 3 hits on the night, and he's posting a highlight video during the game in the clubhouse.
Or he makes a routine play on a ground ball to short and posts it like, look what I did.
Look what I did.
I fielded a ground ball.
And then Scott Service can go crazy.
We in New Orleans. We're down like 18 at the half. I had a kid, he had a nasty dunk. We coming out for the third quarter. This motherfucker done posted his dunk on his joint.
Stop it.
At halftime. At halftime,
Hey,
bro, we down 18.
You got to optimize those numbers.
What you do, though? You know I grinded his up, man. I get wind of it. I said, hey, yo, bro, get the back there and take the down off your joint, man. What the is wrong with you, man? Yeah. My bad, coach. He run to the back. We getting bombed, bro. We down 18. He posted joint at halftime. I said, man, what is going on?
What is going on?
Yeah.
Tom Ziller searched and found these possibilities. Here's what he wrote. There are 2 candidates in the games in Billups' 3 years of coaching the Blazers, April 7th, 2022 and March 12th, 2023. In the 22 game, 2 players had first-half dunks. C.J. Ellaby, a very pedestrian dunk, and Greg Brown III, 2 okay dunks. In the 23 game, Cam Reddish had a very plain dunk in the first half, and Nasir Little had 2 good first-half dunks. one on a putback and one on a fast break. Shaden Sharp is innocent. I would guess Little or Brown.
Yeah. And Little totally denies it.
Yeah, he's like, no way. I know Little pretty well. You know him pretty well. I don't think he would do that.
No, I wouldn't think so.
No. Reddish or brown? Reddish or brown? That's a classic, though. I love it. I love Billups being very real. But that's what they have to deal with. And it's not just Billups. There's coaches across the league having to deal with nonsense.
Yeah, it's a shame that more of that stuff doesn't get out publicly so that people could understand how hard that job is, coaching NBA players right now.
Yeah.
It gets harder every year.
We want to believe that every player on our team shows up ready to roll every night, but that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah. And these guys are brought up playing in AAU programs where there's virtually no discipline. They do what they want. Everybody's in it for themselves. That's why you end up
Well, that's a great point, Godfather. It's on the player for being a dum-dum, but this is a result of our basketball program in the country now. This is what you get when you have a me generation and the me whole environment in AAU basketball.
Well, and it extends all the way to the Olympics. People are talking about that Olympic team, and they're talking about how, it's kind of funny. Steph Curry's not as effective from the three-point line. Well, of course he isn't. They're trying to run Kerr's offense with a bunch of players who aren't accustomed to passing the ball. This is an ISO generation. These guys don't know how to move the ball, move bodies, keep the ball moving, cut. They don't know how to do that. They've been raised totally in a different system.
Yeah,
totally.
You're right. When we come back, Paul George apparently had an epiphany. The Clippers are not the Lakers.
Yeah. He's been a Clipper fan all his life, and he just realized that.
All right, give me some volume on this, Shacker. It's so important for students to have the tools they need for a successful school year, and to that end, we have partnered with our friends at Lazy Boy for the annual Stuff the Bus School Supply Drive. Now through August 19th, donate a backpack or 10 miscellaneous school supply items at any of the 6 local Lazy Boy locations, including Salem and Eugene, and you'll receive up to 25% off on your Lazy Boy purchase. Some exclusions apply. The Salvation Army will distribute your donations to local families in need, and as always, we thank you for your generosity. Get more details on the community page at z100portland.com. All right, coming up on Saturday, the Godfather and I are going to be down at Rose Quarter for a Pup City.
Pup City.
Registration will start at 9. There's going to be a 1.4K walk with dogs, and the proceeds go to support the Trailblazers charity, which supports animals, which is going to be terrific. And I think the walk kicks off at 10 o'clock. Puppy Shots is going to be down there. I'll be down there. You're bringing a whole slew of family members and dogs.
Yeah, we got 3 dogs coming, I think. It's a 3-dog day. And Jack will be there. He's looking forward to it, meeting the other dogs, and, wants to get over and see the Motor Center and what it's all about.
That's different than 3-Dog Night.
Yeah, that was the point.
I was trying to go with the Godfather joke there. You like that?
Yeah.
All right, Pup City. Coming up on Saturday. So come down and join us. Registration will kick off at 9. The walk starts at 10, and it should conclude around somewhere between 11 and 11:30. But it's going to be a great time, and there's going to be some good vendors down there, including Blue Star Donuts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you got to like that. Stumptown Coffee is going to be down there. Portland Pet Food. It's presented by Tavo, and we want you to join us and bring your dog down. You can meet Puppy Shots, and we can hang out together. Michael Holton is going to lead it, and everyone will get a chance to sample different items from Corona, Hop Valley. DJ OG1 is going to be down there bumping some music, tasty treats for you and your dog, and it's going to be a great time. So come down and join us, and it's going to benefit one tail at a time. So we're excited about that. Weather's going to be good on Saturday, and it should be a lot of fun. I just hope Puppy Shots is on his best behavior.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of dogs that won't be, probably. But there's going to be a lot of water. It might be a warm day, so they're going to have a lot of water, places for them to relieve themselves. I think they've thought of everything. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, it should be a good time. So I'm looking forward to it. We'll be down there and get a chance to hang out. All right, let's take a listen to, let's see here, Paul George.
Yeah.
Now, this is not a surprise, Godfather, but, apparently when you play for the Clippers, you do learn at some point that you're not exactly playing for the Lakers. And you would think that Paul George, who's not unfamiliar with the Los Angeles area, would understand this.
Mm-hmm.
In our lifetime, the Clippers have never been anything like the Lakers.
No. Nobody's ever even put them in the same paragraph.
I mean, really, for the longest time, the Clippers have been arguably the worst franchise in all of sports in my lifetime.
Yeah.
They don't win games. They're not taken seriously. And in L.A., they're just a laughingstock. They're at the bottom of the totem pole behind multiple teams.
Even with a new building this year, it's like, yeah, great building, but the Clippers.
All right, so here's Paul George talking about the B team.
I think initially, coming back to L.A., that was home when I first came back to L.A., but it's not the same love. Because when I was in L.A., they like, man, you should have been a Laker. That's all I was hearing. It wasn't no like, yo, welcome to the Clippers. Yo, we happy you in L.A., but you should have been a Laker.
You was on the second team.
I'm on the B team. That's how the vibe and the love felt,
Yeah, that's exactly what it's all about, and that's what Steve Ballmer's fighting against.
Yeah.
Get your new arena, get all your toilets, but until you win or do something substantial, like they're going to have to win a championship or two to be taken seriously.
I can't wait to see that arena, though, because he's putting all the bells and whistles in it,
Yeah.
hoping to get people there just for the arena.
Yeah.
And, there's a basketball game, too.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. I'll never forget it. When we were down there for the Rose Bowl years ago, you were down there, I was down there, Gavin was down there, and we had gone to LA Live, and we went into some restaurant, and I had to use the restroom. And it was one of those deals where I didn't really know where it was at, so I'm wandering around the restaurant trying to find the restroom, and I ducked around a hallway, which was the wrong turn, and I came into like this viewing room, and it was a small room, and I looked around, I was like, wait a second. I saw the blue and the red, and I was like, these are Clipper fans?
Yeah, I remember that.
And they were having like a viewing party for the Clippers, and there were a few people there, and it was just funny because that's a Laker town in terms of basketball.
Mm-hmm.
It's just funny to see a small little group of Clipper fans hanging out watching a game together because if you grew up in L.A., if you're from L.A., you're not a Clipper fan. That's just not how it works down there.
Well, I got the impression that night, at least, that it's people who can't afford Laker tickets. They want to see the NBA, but, those Laker games can get a little bit expensive.
Yeah, and now the Clipper games are going to get real expensive. My guess is back in the day when they were playing at, what was that place, the LA Sports Arena?
Oh, my gosh. What a dump that was.
How bad was that place?
It was a dump. It was right there next to the LA Coliseum.
Yeah.
Terrible neighborhood. You know, they used to say, are you calling a cab? And this is the old days. Calling a cab to get back to the hotel? Yeah. Well, why don't you wait inside the doors here and he'll come by and blink the lights or something.
Yeah,
okay.
not the safest part of town.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a joke. So that's what they're up against. And don't forget, Paul George is no longer with the Clippers. He's now with the Philadelphia 76ers. And the Clippers have big money committed to Kawhi Leonard, who's not going to be healthy and be able to play all the time. They don't have the star power to win a championship now. And so they're going to be one of those middling NBA teams. Good enough to be in the postseason, not good enough to win it all. And they don't have the tools to be able to really go out and improve the team. It's a mess.
Yeah, and in that town, going into the new arena, this is not the kind of team you want to take into a new arena. He had hoped to have both George and Kawhi on that team. And
yeah, they miscalculated.
I mean, at least you could trick some people into thinking you're going to be pretty good.
Well, the thing is, too, is we talk about this with the Lakers all the time. Why do you get into bed with LeBron and deal with all the stuff you got to deal with to be with him? Well, because Dr. Jerry Buss understood one thing that was very important. We have to be different than most sports teams. We have to put on a show. We got to be about the stars, and we have to have, more importantly, star power on our team to give people a reason in Hollywood to show up and watch games. Because if we don't, and our team isn't good, and we don't have star power, and we're not putting on a show, there's too many other things in terms of entertainment that people can choose that would be even, it would cost less than going to an NBA game. So Dr. Jerry Buss understood that, and so they, Showtime, Magic, Kareem, and then it was Shaq and Kobe. They've had star power for a long period of time, and that's why you bring LeBron in, because he's a big enough star to bring people into the arena.
Yeah, remember, they instituted the Laker girls, and that was a big thing, too, at the time. Laker girls. They were stars.
They were stars. Paula Abdul started out as a Laker girl.
Yes.
I remember Frank Burkowski talking about when he arrived in L.A. to be with the Lakers, and Dr. Jerry Buss invited him up to the Forum. I think they were in the Forum Club, and then they went up to take a look at the Laker girls who were out practicing, and Dr. Jerry Buss is like, well, which one do you like? And he's like, well, I like them all, Mr. Buss. That was a big show for him.
Yeah.
That was part of the deal. So there you go. The Clippers are a mess. Paul George didn't like playing for the B team, and now he's in Philadelphia with the 76ers. And I think it goes to show you, when you have star power, don't disrespect them with a cheap offer. Make sure those guys are taken care of. They'll bolt on you. I can't believe well, I can believe it because it's the Clippers, but they really screwed this one up.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
They committed to Kawhi thinking they were going to get Paul George, but they didn't get Paul George. Instead, they got Nick Batum. And I like Nick Batum, but that's not enough to put you over the top.
Yeah.
But then again, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard wasn't enough to put him over the top either.
Right. And both of them undependable in terms of how often they can play. Although they got a great year out of both last year in terms of how many games they played.
Yeah.
They
Until
won't
the
get
postseason
that
arrived.
lucky again with Kawhi.
That's true. All right, we'll keep things rolling. We'll come back. We got to talk about the Mariners, the latest disaster. And I have a feeling there's going to be many more disasters, but the bottom line is they have not opened up the second half on fire. It's bad. What's next? Are they going to do something? Will they be buyers? Are they going to be sellers? They need help. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, coming up at 5:20, we're going to talk with Ryan Edwards, get a Bo Nix update. As camp is underway, we'll find out how long this 3 quarterback rotation is going to take place in camp before they name Bo Nix the starter. Or at least I hope they name Bo Nix the starter. We have a pair of tickets for Chris Jansen. We'll give those away at 5 o'clock. And you can, of course, jump on board right now and join the live stream at youtube.com. Pull up our homepage, Rip City Radio. And you'll see the live links for all of our shows right there. And then tomorrow morning, Justin Myers, who is on a plane right now headed for Indianapolis, will be live at Lucas Oil Stadium for BIG10 Media Day with coverage of the Ducks and many more, the Huskies, the Michigan Wolverines. And he'll be there to talk to coaches and players throughout the course of the morning. Rip City morning starting at 6 a.m. tomorrow with Justin Myers. Back-to-back days of coverage from Indianapolis. We'll get to the NFL coming up here in about 20 minutes with Mike Shanahan. Excuse me. I'm a Bronco fan, so when I think Shanahan, I think Mike. But his son Kyle is, of course, the coach for the 49ers. Apparently reached out to Bill Belichick to see if he might want to do a little bit of work this year.
Yeah, I give credit to Shanahan for even making the attempt, right?
Well, I'm always a believer, and I know you are too, that if you have a chance to upgrade your organization, either on the field or off, and someone of a big name is available, why not reach out?
Chad, I'm just guessing half the coaches in the league would be too intimidated by him to even ask. They'd be afraid of having him on the staff thinking that the guy could take their job someday.
Well, 100%. There's no question about that. So the fact that Kyle Shanahan has the confidence to be able to reach out to a guy like Belichick tells you everything you need to know. Plus, I mean, this is no secret, but the Shanahan family and Bill Belichick have had a very good relationship over the years. There's mutual respect there. Mike Shanahan and Bill Belichick had great respect for one another, and then that's continued on with the son. And, of course, when Jimmy Garoppolo had to be traded, when that decision came down from the top with the Patriots, who did the hoodie reach out to? Well, it was Kyle Shanahan. We'll move him to the NFC. I like Kyle Shanahan. I trust him, and then we'll do the deal that way. And that's how it works. You know, you have those relationships which are critical, and that's how coaches and organizations get things done. So we'll get to that. Plus, roll call. NFL camps are a big deal now, Godfather.
Yeah.
Fans are crazy. People are crazy. Which players are showing up, which ones aren't. We'll get to that. And I'm excited for camps because I want to see Bo Nix play. That's my whole focus this year. Bo Nix and his development. How does he look? Is he going to be the guy? Will he start when the season begins up in Seattle? Is he going to come out and be gangbusters like we saw with C.J. Stroud? Is he going to be garbage like Paxton Lynch? Like, I don't know the answer to any of that stuff. But I can't wait to see it unfold.
Yeah. Do you expect it to take a few games to really see what you want to see? I mean, it'd be pretty hard to think he'd come out on day one and be really good.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I didn't expect C.J. Stroud to come out from day one and start killing it. But he did. I thought C.J. Stroud was going to be a bust. And turns out he's like, he's top 10 quarterback right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what Bo Nix is. I just know that I like him and I want him to succeed. And also, I'm a Bronco fan and I want them to be good. And you can't be good in the NFL without a legitimate quarterback. But most importantly, just start the guy. I don't like rolling out scrubs just to be like a holding mat or a holding place for the guy that you're eventually going to put in. What's the difference in waiting 4 weeks or 6 weeks before you put the guy in or not?
Yeah.
Guys who are capable and are going to be good, you can throw them out there right away. I think Bo Nix can handle that. So, I don't know. Sean Payton's not going to tell us whatever his plan is. We heard that yesterday. He ain't telling anyone anything.
Yeah.
I'll let you know when we get to that. He was being very crusty yesterday.
Yeah, I think he said you'll be the first to know.
Yeah. Which means you're going to be the last to know.
Yeah.
So I respect that. All right, Godfather. The Mariners are a hot mess. They're a disaster. It was bad yesterday, but it's even worse today because last night they got killed again by the Angels, and then today they score 1 run and lose again to the Angels.
Yes, they did.
That means they've opened up the second half, all 6 games at home. They've dropped 5 out of 6.
Once again, great starting pitching. They had a 1-0 lead going into the 8th inning, give up 2 runs in the 8th, lose 2-1. Very similar to the game they lost. I think they lost 2-1 or 3-2 in the first game of the series. It's getting to be a tired old story, and man, Mariner fans are really at the end of their rope.
Well, they've been at the end of their rope for years. I mean, this is nothing new. They're used to dealing with this.
Yeah, but they finally thought they had something going, and here they are again. And they were in first place by 10 games just a few weeks ago.
So what are you hearing around the league? What's the deal with the Mariners? Are they going to do something? I mean, what do you think is going to happen here?
I think it's 50-50 that they actually get something done. They're just so afraid to trade people. I think they want to move, but every time somebody asks for one of their premier pitchers, they bail. And honestly, if you want to get somebody good, you got to give up something good. That's just the way it works. You can't just, every trade can't be a steal. I mean, these guys aren't dumb anymore. You're not seeing teams make stupid trades. And just give somebody a value up. Just shake things up a little bit. Fire your hitting coach. Do something, right? I mean, you just can't sit by and watch this dumpster fire get worse.
Do you think DePoto is under pressure to do something? Or are the Mariners just cool with being who they are?
No, they tried that. And I think the frustration level last year among the players and the fans was terrible. And they got into the playoffs a couple of years ago, and it, raised the expectation level. No question. This is a young team getting in the playoffs, maybe a year before anybody expected them to. Well, they haven't been back since.
Just a few weeks ago, they had a double-digit lead in division, and now they're one game behind the Astros, 2 games over 500, and struggling mightily. And as Service pointed out yesterday, look, it's not panic time yet, but it's getting close because you got like 60 games left in the season. And those are going to move by fast. And before you know it, you're going to be up against it. And you and I both know that there's not going to be a wild card team from that division because they're not going to be good enough when you look around at the rest of the American League with the competition.
Yeah.
So you're either going to win the division and be a playoff team, or you're going to lose the division and be miserable.
What do you think?
What do you think about Cruz?
I don't know. I'd like to see. I don't know.
What type of bat do they need?
They need power. They don't hit enough home runs. Yeah, I mean, this is a new game now. We're not bunting all the time now. We're hitting home runs. That's the way the games are being won. So you better find 1 or 2 guys who can get the ball out of the ballpark, even if they're hitting 230. You're running guys out there now hitting 230 who don't hit a home run. You might as well bring in a slugger who hits 230. Goodness. I mean, you just can't go on this way. You got to have, a run producer.
So go with power. Get a power bat in there.
Yeah.
Maybe that move can revive your lineup. Let me ask you a question, though. If you're DePoto and you don't believe that you're good enough, even if you get the bat to win the division, is that a situation where you take the risk and give up young pitching to be able to bring in a bat if you don't think it's going to help you win the division?
I think you go ahead and make the deal if it's a guy you have under team control for a couple of years. Not one of these rental players who has to get a new contract at the end of the year because he won't stay. You're not going to, and you don't have the right to match or any of that stuff in baseball. If they're gone, they're gone. And so, no, get somebody with under team control because a hitter doesn't want to stay there. It's too hard to hit there.
Why is it too hard to hit there?
Well, we talked about this. It's the batter's eye in center field is angled the wrong way, apparently.
Well, why don't they fix that?
Well, because it's actually a structural thing that I think would take the off season to fix. Now, I don't know if that's real, but I've been told that.
But how do you set that up the wrong way?
I don't know. Well, how come nobody's talked about it until now? I mean, it's not like they just moved into that ballpark.
Well, they're just trying to make excuses for being a crappy offense.
Yeah. Well, I do think, too, you get heavy air that comes in off the bay there, you know, off the water.
The Puget Sound.
Yeah, and that does keep the ball in the ballpark a little more.
Would it matter for the guys they got in the lineup right now?
No.
It's the heavy air.
Yeah, they just worry about getting it out of the infield. That's their problem.
Do you think the heavy air would impact Aaron Judge?
No. No, he slices through anything.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
They're not exactly going great right now, too, either. It's kind of funny that they haven't been able to beat the Mets all season. That's hilarious.
Yankee fans are really ticked off right now.
Yeah.
They're beside themselves. They want changes. What they want is they want their coach fired.
Oh, they want front office changes, too.
They want Cashman and Boone to be on the same ticket because they know if Steinbrenner was still around, those guys would have been fired a long time ago.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more continuity and consistency with the way they do business now. But as you pointed out, like at some point, maybe a change of a different voice, a different look at things, to bring in somebody that might be able to motivate the guys.
Yeah. I think that in New York might be the answer. I think with Seattle, if you fire your manager, that's a terrible disservice because there's nothing he can do with their problems right now.
No pun intended.
I mean, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But you can't. I mean, what can you do when your team doesn't hit? I mean, you can't just teach about a hit.
Well, all I can tell you is that watching that type of baseball where you're not putting up any offense night after night after night, it's boring.
Yeah.
That's not fun. I don't enjoy that type of baseball. I want to see guys mash.
Yeah, of course. Even if you lose 10-9 once in a while. That's okay.
Yeah. The 3-1 losses are demoralizing.
Yeah.
Demoralizing. So, I don't know.
They're behind by 1 run up there, and it's like, oh, God, they can't get 1 run. What are you asking for here? That might require 3 hits in a row or a home run. You can't do either one.
My prediction is they're going to be sellers. I don't think they're going to go all in here.
That would be tragic.
I think they're going to be sellers. I really do.
Oh, God.
Because that's DePoto's MO. He's they're too conservative. I don't think they're going to do anything. And I think they're looking at this. They're going to look at it logically and think, dude, I'm not going to give up any assets because we're not good enough to get over the top and we're going to lose the division. Yeah. I think that's how they're going to look at it. And you're right. If you get a player on team control, you bring back. The good thing is if it doesn't work out, you can turn around and deal him and get assets in return. Mm-hmm. And you already said yesterday they've got like one of the richest farm systems in baseball.
Supposedly do, yeah.
But what good is that if you just hold on to them all the time?
Well, it's funny. They've called a bunch of them up, and they haven't done them any good. So move them while somebody still thinks they're prospects.
How would you like to be the color analyst for that team right now, every night? Trying to come up with a different way to spice things up.
Hey now, hey now, hey now, hey now. Dave Sims. God, those poor guys trying to make those games exciting. I sit there and laugh.
You can't stand the Mariner broadcast team,
No, I'm not a fan, but they get so excited over nothing because they're just trying so hard to push this team out in front, and they can't do anything.
Which one drives you crazy the most, Riz or Sims?
Riz has bothered me for 30 years now. He haunts my dreams.
Did you like Niehaus, or was he too much?
No, Niehaus is okay. Niehaus, he had his shtick, and I never thought he was as good as Mariner fans thought. You know, they loved him, and that's great. That's the way it gets when your announcer hangs around that long. But Riz is just his cadence, the rhythm of his broadcast never was as good as most MLB broadcasters. And to me, it's the sport with the best broadcasters in the world because it's so hard to do baseball. You got to fill in the dead spots, like Scully did, with great stories and humor and fun. And, and that's difficult for a lot of guys.
It's difficult. All right, there you go. And we'll just keep watching to see how they lose.
Yeah. If you want a good laugh, tune in.
All right, that's Dwight. I'm Chad. You got the Rip City Drive. When we come back, we'll hear from Kyle Shanahan, who made a phone call to Bill Belichick. How'd that go? We'll find out next. Your Portland Trailblazers invite you to Pup City, presented by Tavo. It's a 1.4K walk-around motor center for Rip City fans and their dogs to get together in the off-season. Check out both dog and human-friendly vendors like Stumptown Coffee, Portland Pet Food, Blue Star Donuts, and much more. The only cat allowed in the walk is the Trailblazers mascot, Blaze. Each ticket purchase receives entry, Pup City swag, a ticket to an early season Trailblazers game, and a donation to our nonprofit partner, One Tail at a Time. Get complete details now at ripcityradio.com. All right, let's peel back the curtain for just a moment. I feel better about myself, Godfather, because I'm not the only one in the building right now that can't figure out how to pronounce the German team that the Trailblazers are going to face in the preseason. Brad Ford, the great news guy for the entire building here, including 1190 KEX. I mean, he's been in radio forever. He's like a pro's pro, and he's always in the building. Like, he is the unstoppable force, Brad Ford. He comes in. He's like, hey, do you have any idea how to pronounce the German team's names that they're going to face in preseason? I'm like, not a clue, my friend. He actually called Mark Mason, who didn't know how to pronounce the name, and Mark Mason's good at pronouncing names. That's his business. I called Travis. He's camping, hasn't seen the list of teams yet on the schedule because he's out in the middle of nowhere, so he can't pronounce the name. A lot of help we are. We're the sports guys, and we have no idea what's going on.
Well, who do we know that's German? We must know somebody that's, like, speaks a little German or something.
Dirk Nowitzki? Isn't he German?
Yeah, get him on the phone.
Yeah.
No,
Do you know Dirk? I don't know of any. Oh, my Uncle Truman. He's German.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got German background.
Call
He
him.
would know.
Call him.
I could actually
Get
call
him
him
on
right
the
now.
air. It'd be fun.
He's a fun guy to talk to because he's got
Good.
the Oklahoma twang and stuff.
Along with a German accent, that would be excellent.
But he's also spent most of his life in Oklahoma, so my guess is he doesn't know how to pronounce the name. Because what happens is once you live in Oklahoma long enough, it dumbs you down. I'm just saying.
Really?
Yeah. Yes, my IQ has risen since I left Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It's just, it's the way it is down there. So anyways, I feel better about myself. We're not the only dum-dums in the building.
Yeah. Well,
I need to know that once in a while that I have some like-minded people around.
Well, it's not like, I mean, when you look at that word, those words there, I mean, it's not like pronouncing Munich or Berlin or something like that. It's a little tougher than that.
It's true. Because I'm intimidated by you because you're smart and I'm not.
Very debatable. Very debatable.
But that's why I like it when, because I've never thought of you like this, but even you find yourself in situations where it could be, I can't remember, you said you went to some deal or some shebang with Nancy and she's around like her doctor friends. And that's when you realize like.
Med school reunion. I shouldn't have been within a mile of that place, honestly. I mean, they were looking at me, and it's like, yeah, that guy's dumb.
Hey, what do you do, Dwight?
He's dumb. No, they didn't even need to hear me talk. They just looked at me and said, yeah, that guy's dumb. He's dumb.
That's how I feel when I'm around doctors.
Some guy was on track to be an astronaut, but he had hearing problems, so he couldn't qualify. So he went on and he got like 59 patents in the medical field or something.
Yeah.
It's like craziness.
Scotty Bethune reached out and he said, hey, do you think 620's always on the prowl looking for upgrades at hosts? I'm like, 100%. Yeah. Why wouldn't they be?
Could happen at any moment.
It's going to happen soon. I'm telling you, one day you're going to tune in and it's going to be some other guy with a different name, probably a German guy that has my job. And that's okay. That's just how that goes. So, yes, Scotty, they're definitely looking for upgrades. For me, precisely. He must have meant that in relation to Shanahan, who was looking for an upgrade for his defense.
I have job insurance, by the way, because I don't make much money. They always lay off or fire the guys making the most money. So you're a target.
It's funny because we've all been invited or been asked to go to certain places, right? Like, and then you hear, it's like, you want me to go where? I'd be in the same boat, like med school reunion. You sure you want me to go there?
A little bit overmatched. A little bit.
No one takes me anywhere to be like, hey, look, I brought this guy Chad. Because I've been around doctors before. Like, how sometimes you go in to see your doctor and they start the small talk to pretend like they care, even though they're rushed and they've got like 20 other patients to see. And they're like, so what do you do? Oh, yeah, I'm a talk radio host. And they're like, oh.
John, I was going to tell you, they weren't exactly overwhelmed when I said, yeah, I do sports talk radio. Good for you, little man.
Yeah. I was a columnist for the Oregonian. Yeah, that's nice.
Great.
Yeah, good for you. They don't care.
Yeah.
No. It's because their IQ, they're too smart. I can get around people, I'm like, okay, right away based on discussion, I'm like, this guy's a little bit higher level than I am.
Yeah.
I can't even get to that level. I don't know what that's about. I play with golf with a guy all the time. This guy's like a vet. He was a pilot for years. I mean, this guy can build things with his bare hands. I know that he thinks I'm a dum-dum, He's like, what are you doing this week? Well, I'm doing the show, and we're talking about this, and I'm going to go down to Spear Mountain Casino and yell into a microphone. He's like, no, that's nice. Yeah.
No, the old saying is, keep quiet, and then maybe they'll think you're stupid. But if you talk, they'll know you're stupid. So better to just
I
keep
think
quiet.
being quiet is the safest play in almost every situation.
Mm-hmm.
Over talking is very bad.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I get nervous, I'll either go mute or I'll talk too much. And I've learned that talking too much is a bad thing in all situations. Why did I say that? But sometimes I get nervous. I'm like, what should I do here? Do I need to talk? They don't want to hear about my take on John Elway or the Denver Broncos or the Blazers or Chauncey Billups yelling at a guy for posting a social media post at halftime of a game. They don't care about that.
No, and if you eliminate that, there's not much left, really.
Yeah. Yeah, the only time I impressed Dan, the guy I play golf with, the real smart guy, was when I told him I interviewed Buzz Aldrin once. He's like, oh, really? Like, that was the only time where he kind of took interest. And then I started to explain, and he quickly lost interest. That's how it goes down.
Usually it's something that has nothing to do with sports.
Nothing. All right, speaking of sports, let's take a listen to Kyle Shanahan. We wondered when we found out that the hoodie was not going to have a job, like, who would reach out to him? Would he be interested in taking a gig? Would he want to be coaching? I kind of thought for a moment that he might look at being a coordinator for a year just to revive his image a little bit. But most importantly, because guys like that can't be away from the game.
I'm surprised he didn't stay in the league somewhere.
Yeah, me too. Well, here's Kyle Shanahan on the SF 49ers podcast discussing the whole situation with the hoodie. Take a listen.
Speaking of coaching, I know how much respect you have for Belichick and how important he's been to you. Did you talk to him at all about an informal or even a formal role with this team this year?
I did. I threw it out to him just to. He loves football so much that you never know what he would. I can't believe that he's not a head coach of a team right now. I know what I would do if I was an owner, so that shocks me. And the last thing you want to do is insult someone like Bill Belichick. But I know he just loves ball in the simplest form. So I threw it all out to him, like whatever he'd want to do.
DC?
Yeah. I was like, would you be interested? And he was very nice and appreciative, but he politely turned me down. But I think he's helping out his son a little bit. I know he's involved in Washington up there and trying to start that help out with Jed Fish and what he's doing out there. And, it could be good too, because I'm sure he's going to be back in the league next year. And I don't know how, and I could be going against him. He could be in the NFC West, so it would have sucked if he came here and then he was going against us every week too. So that's stuff you got to be careful about. But he's the best, and I just like talking to him.
All right, couple of things there. One, I can't blame Belichick. He's freaking Bill Belichick with multiple Super Bowl championships.
Yeah.
Why should he have to work for somebody else?
Yeah, I get that. But, if you love the game enough, it's like, yeah, I'd love to get back playing chess as a coordinator.
Yeah. Showcase what I can do defensively.
Yeah. And a coordinator is a great job because you can do what you want to do. The head coach usually leaves you alone, and you don't have to talk to the media much.
Well, the great thing is if you're Belichick, Shanahan's like, you just do you. I'm going to worry about the offense.
Yeah.
If you have any insight on the offense because you're a brilliant football mind, that's fine. Share it. But you just take care of the defense. You do whatever you want to do. That's the type of autonomy he would have if he took over that position. My other takeaway is I just respect the heck out of Kyle Shanahan for being willing to reach out to a guy like that to bring on board because he's so comfortable in his own skin that he's not worried about Bill Belichick coming in. You and I talk about this all the time. NBA coaches across the board, there are so many of them who don't hire the best of the best because they're afraid of bringing a guy on staff who might eventually be in a position to take his job.
Yeah, that's right.
They fear that. Kyle Shanahan doesn't fear that because he knows he's a freaking awesome coach.
Yeah.
He's a brilliant mind, and he respects other brilliant minds. So, hey, the more the merrier. I like guys like that. That's why I respected Mike Bellotti for going out and bringing in Chip Kelly, for recognizing the talent, understanding what he could be long-term, and not being intimidated to bring in a great offensive mind because he saw the vision of him eventually taking over the program. I respect guys like that.
Yeah.
Who are comfortable with who they are and what they've done and being willing to surround themselves with whoever and whatever is needed to make their team the best that they possibly can. I think that's the way you got to handle it. But a lot of guys don't operate like that.
No, I think it's the majority of guys don't operate that way. They're just too intimidated. They wouldn't bring on a guy they thought might threaten them.
I just got a text. It says, "Hey, Chad, it's Ratizo Farm."
Say it again.
Ratzio. Ratzio? I don't know.
He didn't send it
Here,
to you
take a look at that.
phonetically?
No, he did.
Oh.
You think that matters for me, dum-dum? Just read that and tell me what
Oh,
it says. Excuse me.
Ratzio Farm.
Ratzio Farm.
Yeah.
All right, there you go.
I don't know that's probably a club or a sponsor or something rather than a town or a city. I'm guessing, some of those clubs over there they're just clubs. They're not representing a city.
Yeah. So it's just a basketball club that's going to come over from Germany.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry to make your nose run by stretching out over the table, my friend.
No, that's not what did it.
There you go. See, we have to rely on our listeners to help us out.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Nice to know that somebody is out there helping us. Gosh, we need all the help we can get. Feel free, folks. Anytime you hear something that we're goofing up.
Here's another one. Use Google Translate. That's what it's come down to. People telling us to use Google Translate. That's actually a pretty sharp tool right there.
Yeah, it is.
I was communicating with someone the other day that was from, I think, Shanghai, and I was trying to have a conversation, and they were pulling out their phone, and I was speaking into it, and then it was translating it into their language. We were able to have a conversation.
Wow.
And that's pretty awesome.
How in the world did you end up having a conversation with somebody there?
I run into random people sometimes, and they were asking me a question, and I couldn't understand, so they put their phone right in front of me, and I realized what was going on, and so I was able to speak, and then they would read my response, and then they would speak, and then I would see their response, and it was just cool with technology to be able to have a conversation, even though we couldn't understand each other.
Yeah.
But because of technology, we're able to understand each other. That's pretty sweet.
It is.
Do you think, I don't know. There you go. So when we hit the commercial break, I will go to Brad Ford and be like, here, this is what our listeners have produced for us.
Oh, good idea. Yeah, let them know.
Ratzio Farm. Ratzio.
Ratzio. Yeah, the accent could be on a different syllable there, too.
I told you I got lost in Berlin once when I went on the bus ride. I missed my stop.
Not a place you necessarily want to get
No,
lost.
I had some old lady on the bus talking to me. I was like 15 years old. Had no idea what she was saying. I just smiled and nodded. And then I was really scared because I was alone in this foreign city. But I figured that a bus route would have to do a full circle at some point. So he stopped in the middle of the city. I was on the bus alone. He gets off the bus and sits down and eats his lunch, takes a little lunch break. I just stayed on the bus.
Yeah.
And then eventually I was like, hey, I think I recognize that McDonald's right there. And then sure enough, we came to the stop and I got off. It was like a 2-hour detour of my day. I was just trying to get up to the American base so I could go play some hoop. And I just took a 2-hour detour and got to see a little bit of different parts of Berlin. But the problem was I couldn't understand what anyone was saying. And I couldn't speak German.
That is the problem, yeah.
And there was no Google Translate back then. Hey, how do I get back to this stop? They didn't have that. What did people do back then? How do people get around town without their maps now? You pull out a big map out of your freaking glove box.
Oh, I remember those days.
I remember mom and dad pulled over on the side of the road trying to figure out where the heck they were going. Had no idea. Mom and dad getting in arguments because they couldn't figure out the map, or my mom didn't read the map the right way, or my dad couldn't pull the map out because he was driving in a rainstorm, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Chaos.
And guys never ask for directions either. That's a cliche.
No, they don't. Oh, I don't need help.
Yeah.
I got this.
I know what I'm doing.
Anytime you hear a guy say, I got this,
Yeah.
you know something bad is about to go down.
Yeah.
There is other news around the NFL, and you mentioned this. You're amazed at how much story the NFL gets even in the offseason, aren't you?
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah. They just dominate.
And, of course, the big stories are right now, who's in, who's out now that camps are underway. Brandon Ayuk, who is upset and has requested a trade. It appears that things could be a little bit frosty between the two teams, but he's not going to hold out. He has arrived at camp. He is in. That's probably the smart way to play it.
But he didn't practice. And that's what they were talking about later. He did not practice. So there is some concern that he's going to do the old sit-in where he'll show up, but he won't practice. So that puts even more pressure on really both sides.
Yes. And the 49ers, I think it was John Lynch who came out and said, our intention is to have Brandon Ayuk be a part of the team. I don't necessarily believe that. That could be GM speak as they continue to try and work out some type of resolution, which could be a trade potentially. I just don't see how the 49ers are going to have the money to pay everybody, right? They gave McCaffrey a big load of cash.
Yeah.
They got a bunch of guys on defense, some who they want to keep. They're going to cost a bunch of money. And they've got the eventual quarterback contract, which is coming too with Brock Purdy.
Yeah, and I think, you got one more year of Ayuk. I think they're going to try and play that out at the salary figure he's earning and then probably just say goodbye to him.
CeeDee Lamb is not in camp.
Yeah.
It appears that both sides are not even close in regards to a contract extension. The Cowboys also are faced with the deal they're going to have to give Dak Prescott. Do they pay him? Do they not pay him? He's not going to give him a hometown discount.
And they got Micah Parsons, too.
Who's a great player.
Yeah.
And they've got a disgruntled wide receiver in CeeDee Lamb, who's by far their best wide receiver. So it seems like the offseason is going pretty smooth for Jarrah right about now.
Yeah, a guy who said they're all in on this season and made it sound like he was willing to go ahead and give these guys their money. But it looks to me like now they're just going to play it out with Dak, too.
And I think that Jarrah he's had his time taken up, too, because he's dealing with some paternity case.
Yes.
The life of Jerry Jones is amazing.
Kind of wacky, yeah. It's funny with Prescott. They just let it go too long. They'd have been better off signing him a couple of years ago when the dollar figure was lower. Because everybody's saying now to get him, they might have to go to $60 million. Well, look, if that's, I can't imagine paying Dak $60 million a year. He's just. And I understand the whole market for QBs. The next guy that signs always get a little more than the last guy. But you can't keep playing that game, especially if the guy is not a guy who's gotten you to the Super Bowl. He's been there a long time with some pretty good teams.
Matthew Stafford wants a new contract, but he's in camp, and he's probably not one that's going to raise a lot of issues. But I think what happened is he's won the Super Bowl. He saw the contract that Jared Goff got, and he's like, hey, what about me?
Oh, they'll take care of him. He'll get taken care of.
And he's coming off a good year. He's got a good relationship with the coach. They'll figure out a way to get it done.
Looks like he's healthy now, too, finally.
And the Jets linebacker, Hassan Reddick.
He's not there, right?
No. New York acquired him in April to be a centerpiece of their defense, but he's seeking a new deal. And so you've got kind of an impasse right there.
Yeah, see, that's one, too, where people are saying they should have seen that coming because the reason he was with the Eagles, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason he left there was they weren't going to give it to him, and so they let him go. It's like you just got this guy who's.
If you're trading for a guy or you're bringing in a guy who you know what his situation is, it's like you do it knowing like, okay, we're going to have to pay this guy.
Yeah, that's why you.
But you bring him in because you believe he's worth the value of what he's asking for.
Exactly. Otherwise, don't play that game. Don't go there.
But they're the Jets. They do dumb things.
Jets, Jets. Yeah.
I would be curious. Like, I think we should both take IQ tests because I want to see how much higher you are than me.
I'm not going to do that.
We should do it.
It could prove very.
I guarantee
you have nothing to lose. I have a lot to lose because you're already saying I'm ahead of you, and I don't want to risk that.
If my real IQ was revealed on air, would I lose listeners because of it?
Look, you got that photographic memory thing going. I wouldn't stand a chance against you.
I've never had my IQ tested for good reason. There's certain things I don't need to know the answer to. Ignorance is bliss. Remember we had that talk once.
Mm-hmm. I have an IQ story that's, basically, I had mine tested in grade school. It was really high.
Yeah.
And my mom didn't tell me what it was, but she said, she kept saying, with your IQ, you know, so I knew it was pretty good. By the time I was a senior in high school, Stanford was doing some national research. They sent a guy out from Stanford to figure out why, with my IQ, I had such lousy grades. I had to sit in the principal's office and take this test with this guy and then talk to him about it because he was giving me another IQ test. And it's like, he would ask, well, if you did this, this, and this, and I'd look at it and say, I don't know. I don't care. No. I want you to try. No, I don't.
Yeah. The late nights in the clubhouse with the Beavers.
Yes. I don't want to work my brain that hard. It might catch on fire or something.
It's Sweet Lou's fault.
Yeah, he was amongst them. Yes. He's one of those guys.
All right, Rip City Drive, Dwight and Chad. We'll talk Bo Nix update at 5:20 with Ryan Edwards. We hope you're enjoying your Wednesday afternoon. When we come back, we'll give you the latest on TNT and their quest to carry NBA games. It's so important for students to have the tools they need for a successful school year, and to that end, we have partnered with our friends at Lazy Boy for the annual Stuff the Bus School Supply Drive. Now through August 19th, donate a backpack or 10 miscellaneous school supply items at any of the 6 local Lazy Boy locations, including Salem and Eugene, and you'll receive up to 25% off on your Lazy Boy purchase. Some exclusions apply. The Salvation Army will distribute your donations to local families in need, and as always, we thank you for your generosity. Get more details on the community page at z100portland.com. You know, Michael Shacker and I actually saw Rick Astley together.
Really?
Out at Moda Center a couple of years ago. The headliner was New Kids on the Block. Salt and Peppa was there.
Oh, God.
And who was the other band that was
En
really
Vogue.
good? In Vogue was awesome.
Oh, En Vogue, yeah. Salt and Pepper.
But Rick Astley was there, and they sprinkled him in for various hit songs throughout the course of the night, and he was awesome. I love that. Yeah, it was good. And I didn't know Shacker was there until I left, and I saw him rolling out with this lady. And I was like, oh, Michael Shacker, that's very nice.
You know you're in the right spot if he's there.
Dude, Shacker goes to a lot of concerts. I respect that a lot. All right, as we suspected, the NBA does not want TNT. No thanks. We appreciate you trying to match your offer, but it's not the same as Amazon's. We want their reach and their cash, and you can basically suck it. I mean, this is going to get dirty. It's going to go to the courts, but I can't fault the NBA. Amazon is better for the NBA today than TNT.
Yeah.
Because they've got Disney, they've got NBC, and now they've got one of the most powerful streamers on the planet with a massive reach. And in today's world, people are going more and more to stream. They want to be able to access games on different devices, and that's just the way it goes down, period. So, yeah, I think TNT's done. I just don't see how you can go into court and be like, our reach is 100 mil. Well, the judge is like, or the arbitrator is like, well, what's Amazon's reach? 200 mil?
Yeah.
That's not the same.
Yeah, and if you're TNT, how much money do you want to spend on that? Going into court with them and probably losing, and then even if you win, having to pay that kind of money to get the games, you're better off just bowing out.
It's hard for me to do this, but I got to give Commissioner Silver credit because I don't know how he pulled it off, but he got some type of massive media rights deal.
Yeah.
Billions, Godfather. He pulled it off.
Might be the last big one they really get. They got it for 11 years.
Unbelievable.
I can't imagine what the media landscape is going to be like in a decade. I don't know that you'd be able to get that kind of money for media rights.
It's impressive what he was able to pull off because their ratings have been declining.
Mm-hmm.
Declining. And yet he was able to go out there and secure it and get the job done. And you know the owners are loving it because the money's just going to roll in hand over fist.
Yeah.
As I mentioned before, the tough part is, I mean, I grew up, when I started watching sports constantly at a young age, Turner was the place to go. TNT and TBS showed NBA games constantly.
Oh, yeah, I remember those days.
And it was a thing of beauty. And that's how I grew up watching it. And it was on during the week. You go to TNT or TBS, and they would have that cute little song, Let's Go to the Hoop, and I'd watch games. And I loved it because they put a lot of Larry Bird games on TV or Michael Jordan or this or that or Lakers or whatever. And so I've grown up, and they had, great broadcasters, great play-by-play guys, great analysts. And so, my entire life it's been there. But as we mentioned before, a lot of the leadership, the people who were there who created the relationship with the NBA and the partnership and so forth has changed. And the landscape, the media landscape, as you mentioned, has changed. And, it's hard to make those type of decisions. But I think the NBA made the right call here because now they're going to have their game available in a very good platform, easy to stream on Amazon. You're going to reach a lot of people.
Yeah, I go back to listening to those or watching those TBS games when they were carrying the Hawks all the time.
Oh, yeah, I love that. Dominique.
Yeah, but Skip Carey was doing a lot of those games. And
he's
he
the
made
best.
it fun.
Skip Carey and Pete Van Wieren, two of my favorite play-by-play guys of all time.
Yeah.
Well, that's how the pros do it. So, I mean, those were the days, man. All I did back then was watch sports and then record games and watch them over and over and over again.
Yeah.
All the time. I couldn't get enough of it. When I got my first taste of sports on TV and then I started watching, it was just, the rest is history. I just watched games all the time. And it didn't matter who the teams were. I just wanted more and more and more, So, but I think the NBA is doing the right thing here. And Adam Silver made his owners a bunch of money.
In the start, in the very beginning, did you want to be a play-by-play guy?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
of the Broncos.
Most of us, I did too. I always thought, man, would that be a great job?
What a great gig that is. I was like, these guys get paid. That's really what happened. It's like, I want my original dream, which didn't last long because, me, was to be an NBA player because I love hoops. But the
Yeah,
problem
of
is I
course.
sucked. I wasn't good. And then my dad, I've mentioned this before, but he had a conversation. He's like, look, I know that you want to be an NBA player, and that's fine. And I'm not here to crush your dreams. I'm just letting you know, based on your stature and your athleticism, that might not happen. So he was very gentle in the way he dealt with that. But he said there are other ways you can be around the game. And, of course, I was really big when I watched TV on sports as a young age. I was into the games, but I was into the broadcasting side of it, too. I was amazed at the music that they would use for intros, the storylines that they would tell, the halftime reports, all that stuff. And I was like, these guys get paid to cover sports?
Yeah.
And I always had a love of radio, so then that was that. I never had a varying career path. It was always kind of, I was focused on one thing, which was nice to have as a youngster, to kind of have a narrow focus instead of not knowing what you want to do. But, yeah, the play-by-play guys, like, these guys get paid money to cover sports? You kidding me? Give me a piece of that action, please.
Yeah, I was that way, too. And then, I started reading the paper, and that kind of got me into, wow, this guy tells the game story a lot different than this guy does.
Yeah.
And I started looking at the way people wrote, and pretty soon it's like, I think I could do that. I really do. I think I could do it.
And then Turner also introduced me to Van Earl Wright doing Headline Sports.
Headline Sports.
And then I was hooked forever.
Yeah.
Like, Van Earl Wright is my guy. And he was crazy back in the day when people weren't crazy.
That was funny stuff.
I'm Van Earl Wright, CNN Headline Sports. And I was like, what is that? Because it would come on at like the bottom and top of every hour on CNN Headline News.
I was covering playoff games somewhere, and the word spread in the media room. A bunch of cynics. It's like, Van Earl Wright's over there. Really? Van Earl Wright? And nobody had met the guy, but
legend.
we had all been watching CNN so long, we couldn't wait to talk
Look
to the guy.
at her go. Yeah, he is the best.
It's crazy.
Okay, we'll come back, and if you have missed Chauncey Billups, you're going to hear it next. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, the Dog and Pony Show continues here. Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad.
Yeah.
We can't pronounce anything, but we're here to serve you. Hey, is that Rick Springfield? I hate it when Shacker's on the phone talking to other people because I want to talk music with him, but I like Rick Springfield. I'm down with that. Didn't your brother go to the show? Your brother did. The Godbrother just saw him.
Yeah, he did.
He told me the show was great.
He got in for free, probably. So if it's free, it's great.
If it's free, it's good enough for me. That's the Godbrothers philosophy. All right, you just give me the thumbs up when you're ready for me to give away the tickets. Thumbs up right now? All right, we have tickets for Chris Jansen, who's going to be chilling at the Clark County Fairgrounds on August 4th. He might not be chilling because it might be sweating booty out there. But if you want to check him out, it also includes fair admission, and that's a good thing. That'll save you a couple of bucks.
Yeah.
We'll take the first caller right now. 503-248-0620 if you want to see Chris Jansen. I want to hear from Chris Jansen fans. React to us. Call now. First caller through gets a pair of tickets for Chris Jansen. And Dwight just... Vancouver!
Boring.
Beaverton! You just said something that was amazing to me. That you actually lost your voice yesterday after the show because you were yelling different towns around Oregon.
It was all those towns. I think one too many towns for me.
Rockzeo!
Sherwood!
Tigard! Newburgh! McMinnville!
Lake Oswego!
Chris Jansen, react to us. Show me your Chris Jansen. All right. So I love the fact that you lost your voice doing that.
Well,
I've tried. I've tried to lose my voice doing that. Well, by the way, before we get to Chauncey Billups being, well, pretty funny, here is YouTube is the best. Van Earl Wright.
Oh, yes.
This is what CNN headline sports sounded like back in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s. Keep in mind, all right? And the audio quality is not great on this because it was probably taken off of VHS tape. And again, most of you don't know what that is.
Yeah.
But before... Okay, this was a really difficult time in the life of the Chad, all right? There was no internet, all right? So there's no phones. There was no internet. There was no way to get sports updates in an instant. You had to wait for the 10-minute ticker or something to scroll across the television, or they put up the 10-minute ticker during games. And I hated it because they would always show Seahawks games, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on in the Bronco game. That's a problem. But CNN headline news at the bottom and top of every hour. And I went to this religiously to know what was going on in the Bronco game. They would do a sports update for like about 2 minutes, and this is how I was introduced to the world of Van Earl Wright, which was amazing. Keep in mind, this is before Van Earl Wright started a trend. He and Chris Berman of being different than the straight news guy delivering sports scores to you. He was wild. And I talked to him once. I interviewed him. It was one of my favorite interviews where he said that he was just in some side studio room, and his boss just told him to have fun, and so he's in there like yelling and doing crazy stuff, and people just couldn't figure out what was going on. But let's take a listen to Van Earl Wright doing a little CNN headline sports.
Van Earl Wright, CNN Headline Sports. Saturday afternoon in the American League, the Red Sox staged an offensive explosion at the expense of the hated Yankees and won their 9th straight game in the process. A 5-run first helped. It was highlighted by one of Ellis Burke's 2 home runs on the day. A 7-run 5th inning put New York away. The big blow in that frame came off the bat of Mike Greenwell, who ripped a shot into right field that Yankee outfielder Jesse Barfield could not get to. The ball rolled all the way to the wall, and Greenwell kept running for the dish. The inside the park grand slam helped the Bo Sox cruise past the Yankees with a 15-1 thrashing. Chicago is trying to win their 3rd straight and keep pace in the West with Oakland. The A's started the day with a 6.5-game lead. In the National League, the Mets moved into a tie for the Eastern lead with the Pirates via the long ball. Tommy Herr blasted one over the fence in his first game in a Met uniform. And for the 30th time this year, Darryl Strawberry went deep. He also doubled for his 1,000th Major League hit. And the Mets handed the Giants their 5th loss in 6 games, 6-5.
That's a sampling of Van Earl Wright, and I love the guy. He's just one of the best. He inspired me as a youngster. I couldn't believe how good he was. He was just wild.
Look! Let her go! Wilson, guys.
That's Van Earl Wright, one of my favorites. So thank you, Turner. See, Turner's brought a lot of good things to us over the years, Godfather.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Dick Van Dyke, Andy Griffin reruns, too.
Oh, yeah.
Sandwiched around Braves games.
And that's my dad's favorite TV show, like, of all time, Andy Griffith.
No, it's
Loves
a good
it to
show.
death.
Yeah.
Did we find winners for Chris Jansen? Did we find winner for Chris Jansen?
Yeah, we got a winner. Someone who's really fired up. It went to a fan.
Oh, good.
There you go. A Chris Jansen fan. Very nice.
What city?
Beaverton.
Thank you, Sacker. Way to get it. He got into the show a little bit there.
I
That's
just love
good.
that you lost your voice yelling again. Hey, what do you do for a living? As you're sitting there at the
I scream into the radio.
the medical school graduation or what do they call that? When you get together again? Yeah, reunion.
It's like a class reunion.
Yeah. What do you do? I yell into a microphone. In fact, I lost my voice last night yelling, Beaverton! Buxton!
Yes. Kind
Well,
of
the other day, we were trying to fart to see if we could pick it up on the microphone. It's pretty funny. You should come by and check it out sometime. I mean, talking to doctors.
It was quite the contest.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
You're worried about IQs. The lower, the better.
I got this drawer sitting right below my feet that I keep my pretzels in, but Chad stole them the other day, and he ate all of them. I don't know what happened there.
It's a crisis.
That's the life of us every day.
Yes, this is what we do for a living, folks.
It's a clown show.
It's
in
not
here.
much of a living, but
No.
dang it.
We're making one.
Yes.
All right.
And we give away free stuff every day. And don't you forget it.
That's right, Chris Jansen. Oh, my goodness. No one's ever inviting me to a med school reunion. I can guarantee you that.
Well, I wasn't invited. Trust me. I was the +1.
Dude, I'll never forget it because this was, you know the guy, but there was I think he set me up. He set me up to look like a dum-dum, but I went out to dinner once, and he was like, he and his wife, and then they had a friend come, and she was like a doctor, right? And he's like, you should, she's single. You should ask her out or whatever,
Yeah.
She was nice. We had dinner, stuff like that. So after dinner, I hit her up. Hey, we should get together sometime. She's like, no, I'm good. I'm not joking, man. She goes, no, I'm good.
Really?
Yeah. All right, thanks. I love that, though. I love it because it's like, why would she want to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been very impressed by you, but no thanks. I'm
Yeah.
good.
I love that, though. I love rejection because it's like, okay, well, what's the worst I could say? I'm going to ask Bill Belichick out on a date. What's the worst? He's going to say no? He wants to come and be a part of my coaching staff. Hey, I think we should get together. No, I'm good. Thanks, man. Have a good night. Oh, it's so good. All right. Chauncey Billups. Speaking of things you should not do, shenanigans, hijinks. Now, if you work for a talk radio show, you can do this kind of stuff. Midway through the show, if Dwight has a take he likes, he wants to tweet it out to everyone, that's fine. But during an NBA game at halftime, you should not be going to social media when you're down 18 to retweet your highlights. And Coach Billups would agree with that.
Speaking of coaching, I know.
We in New Orleans. We're down like 18 at the half. I had a kid, he had a nasty dunk. We coming out for the third quarter. This motherfucker then posted his dunk on his joint.
Stop it.
At halftime.
Yo, stop.
At halftime, bro, we down 18.
You got to optimize those numbers.
What you do, though? Man, you know I grinded his up, man. I get wind of it. I said, hey, yo, bro, get the back there and take that down off your joint, man. What the is wrong with you, man? Yeah. My bad, coach. He run to the back. We getting boned, bro. We down 18. He posted joint at halftime. I said, man, what is going on?
And it's such a bad reflection on the coach, too. Like, if your GM's like, hey, why is your guy, what's up with that?
Yeah. Can't you control your guys a little better than that?
Hey, Coach, why are your guys posting stuff on social during halftime? You're down 18. What's up with that? What are you talking about? Who do you think brought it to his attention, too?
Could have been like a assistant trainer, weight coach, somebody like that who's kind of paying attention. There's probably somebody monitoring that stuff.
Oh, my bad, Coach. My bad.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah, it was your bad. Gosh.
All right, there have been reports out, so it could be one of the following. Cam Reddish is on the list based on the crack research that was done. Greg Brown III, definitely on the list.
Yeah.
C.J. Ellaby and Nasir Little, who went on social media to say, that was not me.
Yeah, he actually got wind of it and wanted to stamp that out right away.
Yeah.
I don't know. He would deny it anyway, right? I mean,
well, you would. Some guys might be like, they just wouldn't say anything.
Yeah.
I mean, Billups was kind not to out the guy. I wish that he would have outed the guy. That'd be funny, but you're not going to do that. But, yeah, it's probably Greg Brown III. Could be Cam Reddish. I just can't believe that a guy, especially if you're trying to make a team or make a name for yourself, like, what are you doing? You think that's going to ingratiate yourself to the coach or the coaching staff? That you're not focused in on the game?
No, it's like
you got to read the situation. You're down 18.
Yeah.
Even if you're up by 20, that's probably not good timing, brah.
No.
What's up with that?
You said it before. Me generation.
The me
Look
generation.
what I did, folks. We're getting killed in this game, but I got a great dunk.
We stink, but, man, I am good.
Yeah, I'm good.
That dunk I had when we were down 20 in garbage time was epic. Have you seen that dunk?
Yeah.
I posted it during halftime. Check it out, man.
It's like those guys with their baseball teams trailing 9-0 and they hit a solo home run and
they're
prancing
styling around the bases, yeah.
beating their chest and everything else around the bases.
That drives me insane.
Oh,
you do
man.
like a pirouette in the box and you're running up, just pounding
Have
your
a
chest,
clue, right?
pointing to the sky.
Yeah.
No, just run your ass around the bases and shut up.
Yeah.
Good gracious. Now, if you hit a game winner to, if you hit a home run to win the World Series, and you want to hop around and get all excited, fine.
Sure.
And I mean, Kirk Gibson he wasn't physically able to do too much, but even he kind of wound his arm around.
Yeah.
He was probably stunned at what had just happened, but he did that little fist pump. I like that.
Yeah.
Who was the guy that hit the big home run for the Jays? Is that Carter?
Joe Carter.
Yeah.
I was there. I saw
You were
it.
there?
Yeah. Game
You've been everywhere.
6. I was so happy because it was game 6 and nobody wanted to stick around for a game 7. It was in Toronto.
I remember that. And he was like hopping up and down. It was awesome.
Well, how many walk-off World Series home runs? There haven't been many.
No, it was a classic. Yeah, so if you want to style around the bases at that time, that's fine.
Sure.
You just won a championship with your bat.
Yeah.
But you're down 9-0. Like, no one on the Mariners should be doing anything right now.
Yeah.
Just get around the bases, tap home plate, and get your butt in the dugout.
Yeah, get in that dugout and hope you hit another one.
I love Chauncey, though. He's like, wait, what?
We in New Orleans. We're down like 18 at the half. I had a kid, he had a nasty dunk. We coming out for the third quarter. This motherfucker done posted his dunk on his joint.
Stop it.
At halftime.
Yo, stop.
That's so good.
Yeah.
My bad, Coach. My bad.
Not good enough.
All right, time for a Bo Nix update. Ryan Edwards, KOA, will get his take on the Broncos quarterback situation. 3 guys are going to rotate. How long is it going to take before Nix is anointed? We'll find out next. All right, always a good time to dive in and talk a little Denver Broncos, especially with camps opening up and Bo Nix getting ready to kick off his rookie season in the NFL. And joining us right now is a good friend of the show from KOA in Denver. He is on X at Edwards Radio. It's Ryan Edwards who's back. Ryan, what's up, buddy? Happy football time to you, bud.
Indeed. Very excited about it. Thanks for having me on.
All right, let's start with this. Before we get to the quarterbacks, what is the big non-quarterback story that you think is the number one in your mind that you're following now that Broncos camp is open?
Well, I mean, it's kind of started last week when they gave Quinn Miners an extension, who was going into the final year of his rookie deal. There's several players here that are going into the final year of the rookie deal because it's a really big draft class for the Broncos. But, you know, you just saw the investment in the offensive line, whether it's going to be Bo Nix as the starter or any of the other two quarterbacks. You wanted to invest there. It's something that Sean Payton did a lot of out in New Orleans. And the first thing he got in there, they went ahead and drafted offensive linemen. They extended some guys, and they kind of built it from there. So a lot of this is stemming from, okay, so who are you going to be? What's the identity of this offense? They want to be able to run the ball. They want to have balance like I think a lot of NFL teams do, but they certainly want to protect their first-round quarterback in Bo Nix at whatever point he is going to be the starter. So that's kind of been a discussion. A lot of people wondering what Javonte Williams was going to look like coming out of off-season, where he looked like maybe he had lost a bit of a step. He slimmed down, looked like he had a lot of burst out there. And then, of course, also great to see Greg Dulcich, their third-round tight end they drafted a few years ago, that has really had a tough time staying on the field because he's had all these soft tissue injuries. He was out there looking full go. So, yeah, I mean, right now a lot of the focus is on the offensive side of the ball because there's so many unknowns.
Ryan, I was curious. They're splitting all the reps three ways in this sort of, I guess, supposed competition for the starting job. How long do you think they can keep that up before they have to start focusing on more reps for whoever it is who's going to start?
Well, if you ask Sean Payton, he'd say as long as it takes. They really want this. They really want this to be organic, and they want Bo Nix to earn it, right? And I think that's appropriate.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Zach Wilson, who has 33 starts. I don't think many people are expecting him to be able to make the leap in order to be ready to be the starter, but he is the most experienced guy. Jarrett Stidham was here with his team all last year, so he at least is the quote-unquote incumbent. And Bo Nix is coming into this thing as the 12th overall pick. There's nothing guaranteed for any of them. I really think that for Sean Payton, ideally it would be Bo Nix wins this thing, and it's obvious to the entire team because if you go out there and you say, hey, our first-round quarterback, 12th overall, he's going to be the starter, well, there might be some guys in the locker room that say, well, I've been with Jarrett Stidham all year, and I think he's ahead of Bo Nix. And in the end, what you're judged on is winning. The organization may have a view of Bo Nix of, hey, we got to get this guy in the field. We got to get reps. We got to find out if he's our guy or if we have to pivot as soon as next year. But the guys in the locker room, they're all playing for them right now, which they should. And so to sell this thing, not only to the fan base, but also the locker room, you got to have a competition. I think to answer your question, they're looking at this thing saying, well, let's see if we can get a week or two into this thing. Maybe you have to go through the first preseason game. I think you'd like to know by the second preseason game. But, man, I tell you what, if so far I don't think anybody's really separated. And if that ends up continuing on for the next couple of weeks, this could go all the way to the second preseason game.
Ryan, what do you think have you had a chance to find out what the players are saying about that competition?
I mean, they're all being pretty nice about it. We had Quinn Miners on the show tonight. We asked him about it, and he said, hey, all three guys are very talented, and again, they give you kind of the same pablum. and I think it's the right response because you don't want to be like, oh, it's obvious that Jarrett Stidham is our guy.
Yeah.
Because it's not up to them, like not individually anyways. Most of the guys when I've talked to, whether on record or off record, have said pretty nice things about all three quarterbacks. Zach Wilson clearly has the most elite arm of the group. There's certainly a reason why he went second overall to the Jets. Bo Nix, again, played in 61 games in college. A lot of experience there. That shows, at least for me, when I've watched him this offseason and today in our first day of training camp. And then Jarrett Stidham looks like the guy that's most comfortable because he's been here. He knows the system. He knows these receivers. He knows what he's getting into with all of it. So they all kind of have certain positive marks on reasons why they should be in the running. But in the end, it is about wins. but it's also kind of about looking for that upside at the quarterback position because you're staring at Patrick Mahomes, you're staring at Justin Herbert in your own division, and that means you cannot really go into this playing it safe. You do have to take some risks, but for the players right now, they just want to know who's going to go out there and lead us, who's going to get us some wins.
We're talking with Ryan Edwards from KOA in Denver. Broncos camp is open. You know, I understand if, let's say, Bo Nix is Paxton Lynch, and it's clear that he's nowhere near where he needs to be the starter. I can understand why, you know, Sean Payton would go in a different direction. But if it's, let's say it's close like you were talking about, even if Stidham is maybe a step ahead just because of his experience and the understanding with the language and the offense, if Coach Payton elected to go with Bo Nix because he believed that that's where the upside was and that he's going to be the future of the team, do you think the players would be on board with that, understanding the situation?
I think they would, yeah. And if it is close, right, it's so tough because Jarrett Stidham, though he doesn't have the requisite upside, there's a sense that he can keep the team on schedule, and that the guys like him. The guys in the locker room really do like him. So, like Paxton Lynch, the tough thing with the comp there is Paxton Lynch wasn't all that liked. He's a very aloof guy. He was wildly inconsistent. You know, I was covering Paxton here, and you know, there's moments, again, arm talent, athleticism is all there, but mentally he wasn't even close. And it was pretty obvious to everybody there, and there was a reason why they didn't just give him the job, because they knew that they would have a revolt on their hands. Trevor Siemian wasn't a sexy pick by any stretch of the imagination, but he gave them the best chance to win, and everybody in the building knew it. So that's where this one's interesting, because I think everybody's kind of a nice guy. Everybody's a likable person. But, yeah, if it's close, I think they go Bo Nix, and then they say with Jarrett Stidham, hey, you're on the roster, you're backing him up. Let's kind of go from there. The thing about it is you just don't want to put Bo Nix out there if you have to worry about setbacks, right? It's a perfect example on this roster. Zach Wilson, so many setbacks because he got hit a lot out there in New York. He had a tough time acclimating to the NFL game. And if you put a rookie out there and all of a sudden he's taking hits and he seems like he's seeing ghosts and he seems like his confidence is shaken, well, you could set him back for not only the short term, but actually the long term. And that's the one thing I think they want to be careful about. But I'm with you. If it's close, it's got to be Bo.
Okay, Ryan, you brought up something, though, just with what you just said. How do you feel about it? Are they going to be able to protect whoever is back there this year?
Well, they certainly believe so. They paid a lot of money. They're spending a lot more than almost anybody else in the NFL on that offensive line. They brought in Ben Powers and Mike McGlinchey last year. They were so-so in pass pro, but you have to wonder how much of that was Russell Wilson and sort of his style of play. And I'm not trying to pile on Russ. I do pile on him plenty on my show, but I'm not piling on in this case. I'm just saying he's a guy that holds the ball a lot. He's a guy that's scrambling around looking for extra plays. He's an improvisational quarterback. That's great. He's built a really impressive career off of it, but it doesn't mean it's a great fit for what they're doing here now, and that's why he's not here now. So you have to imagine for Mike McGlinchey, for Ben Powers, even though Ben Powers came from the Ravens and he was used to that with Lamar Jackson, you all have to be built around that same premise, the same idea, and this team is just not built for it. So I'd say some of the sacks that they gave up last year, I put a lot of them on Russ. I put a lot on him kind of holding the ball, scanning around, running around, looking for opportunities. The ball's going to come out way faster this year. And that is going to help whoever the quarterback, but assuming it's Bo Nix, that's going to help him out a ton. I also think that the investment in the running game, not only a healthy Javonte Williams, they drafted Audric Estime, Jaleel McLaughlin, who I think at times looked like a revelation. He's got another year under his belt, so I think that there's expectations of him taking a step forward. So they kind of built this thing around a guys that a lot of them are projections, but there's an expectation that those guys are going to deliver.
Hey, Ryan, what was the biggest area of improvement for the team during the course of the offseason?
Well, I think the Broncos wanted to be the defensive line. And I'd say that's probably fair to echo that. They made a trade for John Franklin Myers from the New York Jets on day 3 of the draft. They brought in Malcolm Roach. They really beefed up the interior of that defensive line. We thought DJ Jones might be a cap casualty because of where they were at, taking all the Russell Wilson dead cap, but instead they kept him. And they just added to that room, which included Zach Allen as well. So they want to be a stout defensive line team. They don't want to be giving up 5 yards per carry like they were last year. Certainly it was a rough start to the season, including the 70-point game against Miami. They want to be a team that builds around the continuity of the successes that they had last year. They're going to be way more attacking up front. They've made also investments in the edge rush, drafting Jonah Ellis out of Utah. So the way they look at it right now is they want to be more of an intimidating team up front. And I'd say that, by and large, is probably where they made the most investment. But, again, in the secondary, they moved on from Justin Simmons, right? They did bring in Brandon Jones from Miami, but we got to see if that's going to be an upgrade or not. They think it's going to be, but we'll see.
Ryan, what's a reasonable and fair expectation for this team this season?
Boy, it depends on who you ask, right? I mean, national narrative out there has this one of the worst teams in the NFL, and on paper, I can see where they're coming from. I mean, there's a lot of name recognition here. You look at the wide receiver core, you're like, oh yeah, Cortland caught 10 touchdowns, but that's kind of it. In the end, they expect Marvin Mims to take a big step forward. They think they're actually better there with him than Jerry Jeudy, but you have to prove it, right? You have to go out there and show that. They think they're better at running back than they were last year. They think they're better at offensive line, even though they lost Lloyd Cushenberry. They think they're going to be fine there. And on the defensive side of the ball, like I said, they had to say goodbye to Justin Simmons, who's a marquee player. At least he was for the Broncos for many, many years. So realistic expectation is wide-ranging right now. I think it's fair at the 5.5 number to say you like around that number, maybe north of that number. I feel a little more bullish on them, and maybe that's the orange and blue colored glasses. Maybe that's just covering the team as much as I do. I feel a little bit better about them. I think the belief for me is in Sean Payton and in his system. I think that his coaching has changed the culture with this team. They went from last year winning the 8 games that they did with a quarterback that Sean Payton didn't want to work with, and now he's got a room of quarterbacks he does. That, for me, is worth believing in and worth buying into. Could they get north of 8 games? They're going to need to win those close battles. Last year they lost a 1-point game to the Raiders. They lost a close game to Washington where they had a 21-3 lead. They lost to the Texans later in the season, the Patriots later in the season. So you got to win those games, right? But you can't fall off in the other aspects as well. So right now I think it's fair. Long-winded answer, sorry. Long-winded answer. I think it's fair to say they could float around 500, but that is very bullish based on many of the other projections.
All right, so what does your gut tell you? Who do you think is going to win the quarterback battle and be the starter in Seattle week 1?
I think it's going to be Bo Nix. I really do. It wouldn't shock me if it's Jarrett Stidham. The shocker right here would be Zach Wilson. My goodness. I think we'd all be like, what happened?
Heaven help us.
I think it's going to be – yeah, I know. Zach, and it happens, right, guys? It changes scenery. The light bulb comes on. We say, oh, well, yeah, I mean, he's so talented. That makes so much sense. I haven't seen the light bulb come on. We're for day 1 of training camp. Things could change. But right now, if you're asking me today, I think it's going to be Bo Nix. He's shown a lot of poise. He shows a lot of character, the traits that you're looking for in a quarterback. He doesn't really feel like a rookie to me. The only thing that is a little bit rookie is that sometimes his passes are behind his receivers, but that's some timing that I think he can figure out. He doesn't seem really affected by much. The pads will come on Saturday. So we'll see a little bit more there. But right now, man, I think you got to go with Bo Nix. It makes the most sense.
Well, I'm with you on that. What I'm excited about is that, covering Bo Nix here, Ryan, I like him, the person. I think he's got good character. I like the grind that he went through from going from Auburn to Oregon and really transforming the way people look at him. I have no idea what type of quarterback he's going to be, so I can't wait to watch it play. It's going to be fun this year just to watch his development and see if he can become the franchise guy that Sean Payton thinks he is. That whole process to me is fascinating.
100%. And that's the other part, right? It's Sean Payton's belief in him that you also have to kind of buy into. And I remember on draft night, I wasn't a huge fan of the pick. I wanted J.J. McCarthy, but I also, from the other side of it, to say, hey, man, Sean really loves this guy. And he has told everybody and everybody that this guy is being slept on. This guy was their number 3 quarterback on their board. And so it's like, okay, all right, man. Hey, you have, over the course of your career, built up a reputation that makes me at least intrigued by it. So if he thinks that Bo Nix really is that kind of guy, and we said in the offseason, hey, man, if there's anybody in this draft that could come in and have a Drew Brees-like career, especially with the right coach, it's Bo Nix. So for me, that's where I'm so fascinated to see Sean Payton's impact on this process, to see, hey, if Bo Nix really is that guy, Sean Payton is going to set him up for so many opportunities for success that I do think he has a chance to hit the ground running if he ends up winning the job.
Hey, before you go, Dwight and I were talking about this as kids when we started watching sports and developed our interest in broadcasting. Like, we both had this design to be play-by-play guys. Like, what was that what you wanted to do when you were younger? Like, what was your first taste of sports and wanting to be in the media?
Yeah, that's so funny because I spent a good portion of my youth as a musician, so I didn't really find sports. I mean, I watched the Broncos with my dad in New Mexico when they were on, because back then you couldn't just get any game you wanted. You had to get whatever game they gave you. But I'd say that when I finally figured out that I wanted to do sports broadcasting, I actually just kind of wanted to be a producer behind the scenes. I just wanted to play with sound because I was a musician and I like sound. And then somebody gave me an opportunity to be on the air, and it was a lot like performing on stage as a musician. And all of a sudden it sort of fed that side for me. So I've had a blast doing it. I love doing the pre and post game for the Broncos. I mean, that is a dream come true for me. Talking to fans 3, 4, 5, 6 hours after the game, calling in, people screaming at me about all sorts of things when it comes to the team. I am like a kid in a candy store every single Sunday. So for me right now, I'm living my dream job, and I couldn't be more happy.
Well, we appreciate it, buddy. Enjoy camp, and we'll reach out to you again in the near future. But it's going to be fun to watch this process with the quarterbacks and Sean Payton, man. We appreciate you, Ryan.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Thank you.
There you go. Love Ryan Edwards. Yeah. Always appreciate the update. And I would be surprised if it's not Bo Nix. I mean, what are we doing here? He drafted Bo Nix to come in and be his guy. He's going to start him.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the only thing that makes sense, really.
I don't need to see certain quarterbacks in my life. Jared Stidham and Zach Wilson being one of them or two of them. I know what Zach Wilson brings to the table.
Yeah. You don't think he could improve with a different team, a different
He could,
coach?
But he's not. I don't think he's a franchise guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to go out, if I'm hitting a PTA meeting or something, I'd like to roll with Wilson. Go. I'm just saying.
Here we go. I know where you're going.
I mean, if you're going cougar hunting, you want Zach Wilson at your side. If I'm trying to win football games, I'll go with Bo Nix.
So you're saying if this guy joins your country club, watch out for your wife, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yep. He'll swoop in, and before you know it, she's at the Sadie Hawkins dance with Zach.
Sadie Hawkins dance. That's another one you might have to explain to the kids these days.
How do you think that conversation went with his mom when she asked him about his shenanigans with her friend? Do you think she even approached that conversation with him, or she just let that one go?
He probably said, wasn't my fault.
I didn't do anything.
Yeah. What do you expect me to do?
She came on to me.
Yeah. Wasn't my fault.
I was just trying to be polite. What am I supposed to do? Say no?
I'm just a kid. She's your friend. I thought I'd be nice to her.
Mom, I just care about helping people.
Yeah. Just trying to be nice.
Dwight and Chad give out freebies all the time. I was just trying to be nice. But I can see how that goes down. Like, if you're a mom, like a hot mom, maybe you're not getting the attention, you don't get the attention. Right. And then Zach Wilson is being nice to you. I could see how that would be enjoyable.
Okay.
Just saying. So anyways, if I'm going cougar hunting, I want Zach Wilson. If I'm trying to win football games, I want Bo Nix, and with Jared Stidham, whatever. I don't care about that. He's a backup. No offense. If he wants to be the backup, that's fine. Jared Stidham as a backup is a nice, fine option.
Mm-hmm.
Like you need a backup like that, someone you can trust that knows the offense that will do what you tell him to do when he goes into games.
Yeah.
And you need to have a good backup in the NFL because guys always get hurt.
A backup is a guy that just won't lose the game for you. He doesn't have to win it for you. He probably can't.
Yeah.
But just don't lose it for us.
Exactly. Like, for years, Gary Kubiak backed up Elway.
Mm-hmm.
He was exactly what you needed. He wasn't trying to get the starting job. He knew what his role was, and he wasn't a dum-dum.
Derek Anderson made a career out of being a backup.
There's been a lot of guys. Who's the guy that was in Kansas City and played at Missouri? Can't think of his name right now, but he made a career out of that, too. You can make some good scratch being a backup QB.
Mm-hmm. And that clipboard's not heavy.
I always wonder what's on that clipboard, too. Do you think it's all just serious business, or is there fun and games on that thing?
Cartoons or something, brother.
It reminds me of the time I remember watching SportsCenter. They showed Bo Jackson in the outfield once, and maybe it was between innings. But you remember that bazooka bubble gum?
Mm-hmm.
When you'd open it up, there were comics in there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he opened up. He was reading the comics.
Well, you got to read the comic.
I mean, I just thought, hey.
Bazooka Joe. That was who was in the comic.
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah, that turtleneck sweater he wore right up over almost to his nose.
Yeah. I just thought that was cool that Bo took the time to enjoy the comics.
Yeah.
In between innings. Thanks to Ryan Edwards. High Fives coming next. And we're going to hear from KCP, who had some very interesting thoughts on the Denver Nuggets that you sent over to me. I can't dance. How great is this song right here, Godfather?
You know, it's real good. I consider this a deep cut too. I don't think this is this ever really
It was a hit. Yeah.
Was it a top 10 hit?
Yeah, back in like 91.
Oh.
All right, give me some volume.
It was the first single off the album.
I love Phil Collins' voice a lot, Godfather.
Oh, yeah.
He said, "You know, son." All right. On the charts, No Son of Mine reached number 12 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100. It was 8 on the adult contemporary charts and number 3 on the U.S. mainstream rock Billboard charts.
And it was a regular appearance of the 9 at 9. Top 9 songs at 9 o'clock.
That's right.
At 9 at night.
And basically, if Phil Collins sings it, I'm down with it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, son of mine. All right, let's go out. Yeah, let's grab the phones. Should we go to KCP? Yeah, whatever. Let's go to the phones real quick. Let's go out to the Preacher. Hey, Preacher, what's up, brother?
Man, thank you for having me on. You guys are the best. You always bring on the fans.
Appreciate it.
How are you guys doing?
Fabulous. I think the Godfather's doing well. He's going to go play some evening golf tonight after the show, and I'm good too, man. How are you? How are you and Holly?
Oh, man, we're trying. We're, as you say, we're trying to make it in America, or as anyone would say, and we're going with it. And I got, the last host you had with Russell Wilson, I saw that dog collar start creeping up on him. And, of course, he started, looking like my toilet, going in circles in the pocket. I'm like, you used to be lean and mean, man. You used to break out of that line and rush for a couple yards. But then he, really swolled up. And I was like, man, that's what Nurkic did with losing weight. That didn't work either which way. That didn't work. Let me really ask this, Godfather.
Yeah.
1992 World Series. Where do you rank that lineup with Joe Carter, Dave Wingfield, and of course Ricky Henderson, Roberto Alomar, and John Allrood versus Deion Sanders and Dave Justice? I just want to get to hear that because that was the last time I was a true lineup baseball fan.
That was a good lineup. If you'll remember the World Series, I think that's the year they played the Phillies, and they had a dynamite lineup too. They were really tough. That was a good World Series. Mitch Williams, the left-hander out of Wesleyan High School, was the losing pitcher. He gave up the home run to Carter.
All right, appreciate it, Preacher. Let's go out to Raider Mike. Raider Mike, what's up, man?
Is Preacher related to Daniel?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Mm-mm.
Their voices are very similar.
They have similar voices. Yeah, Preacher's a good dude. Daniel's chilling down in North Phoenix right now. So, yeah, they do have similar
No, I'm not going to go after him today. I'm not in that mood. I'm going after
Daniel in a while. Yeah, Daniel,
I'm going after Fisher, the A's owner.
Oh, well, fire away.
Have you heard what this jackass has done?
What did he do now?
He has jacked the last game at the Oakland Alameda Coliseum. Rhododendron, Junction City.
Yeah.
Emeryville.
I can do that too. I've been all over these states. So anyway.
Rhododendron.
It's right next to government camp.
Yeah.
Welch's.
Come on, man.
Sandy.
Zigzag. Zigzag. Up by Boring, where I'm living. So, whatever. We can shout all these weird places. I've been to all these towns, and they all have these cool little coves of cool people.
Government camp.
Government camp. Anyway, that idiot Fisher jacks the prices, third level, $100 or more for the last game with the A's at Oakland. Alameda, Coliseum. So, ass hat of the century. We have not gone to ass hat brigade for a long time, Chad.
I know. Well, if
We
you
gotta
want,
put
we can
Fisher at
make
the
him.
top.
He's at the top maybe right now. And Fisher is a dum-dum, isn't he, Godfather?
Jody's right there.
Yeah.
Hold on. Jody and her penguin skulls, giraffe bones, security forces and tidy whities. Those two idiots are right there. And they're holding up both my teams from being real good.
And what about Mark Davis and the Raiders? Is he holding them up, Mike? Rhododendron. What is it? Zigzag?
Zigzag.
Zigzag. Government camp. Rhododendron.
Welch's.
Welch's.
Yeah.
Like that's deep. That's deep cuts right there.
Yeah.
That's the deep cut list of Oregon towns.
Yeah.
Like if you know rhododendron, I know you've been to Oregon.
Yeah, they're all within about, 30 miles of each other up there, aren't they?
All right. Big thanks to Ryan Edwards, Michael Shacker. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, live from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis.
Yes. We might be able to steal some of those interviews for our show later on, right?
That's the whole idea,
That's
baby.
what I'm looking for.
Have a good night.